Hello and welcome back to Dash 28 Live. I am your host, Mike Atkins, and today we have a special event. We are doing the first round matchups for the 2023 Pilgrimage GT happening next weekend in Philadelphia. Joining me, I have the TO for the event, Marcelo. Hi, Marcelo. Welcome.
Thank you.
And here to help us make sense of the lists and the matchups, I've got Adam Ballard and Ray Shields. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Always great to see you guys. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump in and start talking about what's going on at this event. So there are going to be a full 20 tables that we're going through. 38 of them we have lists for. So there's one table where Marcelo has cleverly paired the two people who did not submit lists in advance against each other. So they just get a surprise when they show up Saturday morning, I guess.
And a penalty.
And a penalty. Oh, very nice. That'll teach them. As with all Mid-Atlantic tournaments, the Cornwall Cup is up for grabs to the club with the highest combined overall score of their top three participants. And I believe we have 6 clubs with enough people to qualify. And that's the Aristocrats, the Battle Pilgrims, Dojo, Mid-Atlantic Irregulars, Nerdhammer, and the Shambling Horde. And Marcelo, I wanted to ask you, because the Shambling Horde is not a Mid-Atlantic club, but you're doing the cup a little different this time. Could you talk about that?
It is. You know, the pilgrimage first ran in 2008 in Australia, and it was set up with the concept of people traveling to the event. And that's always been encouraged. We have a very unique award, which is to the person that had to travel the furthest to come to the event. And in that spirit, you know, we thought that we would open it up to people outside of the Mid-Atlantic. Normally, the Cornwall Cup is for a Mid-Atlantic only prize. And the club from the Mid-Atlantic that wins it gets to take it to their home base and bring it back to the next big event. But what we're doing different this year is that in order to encourage Battle Pilgrims, you know, to come from far and wide to play Kings of War, we're going to give the opportunity for clubs outside of our region to win it as well. Now, they don't get to take it home. That's the only difference. So, but they still get a plaque with the club name and the event. We need to make sure the cup is here for the next event. Yeah, but it's the only event in the year where people from outside the region can participate.
Awesome. I think Joey Greek is supposed to drop the cup off at my house tomorrow, so I'll be driving up with it.
Thank you.
So the cup will be there.
Good to hear.
Yep. And so thanks for that info. That's very cool. And coming up in just a second here, we're going to get to looking at the armies and then talking about the matchups. First, I just want to remind everybody that our commentary and critique of your lists and predictions for who we think is going to win is they're purely for entertainment purposes. It is nothing personal. I don't think anybody here is going to straight up slam anybody else's list or tell anyone that they have no chance in hell of winning or anything like that. They might say that to me because I might not. We'll see when we get there. But this is all in good fun. This is all just to build hype for the event. We're all just having fun with it. Please don't take any of this personally. All of us have gotten razzed at one point in time or another for what we've brought to a tournament. So it is all just in good fun. All right. So in terms of what we're going to be looking at, we have 18 different armies represented across the 38 lists that we have. We get kind of a similar sort of long tail curve like you usually see these sorts of things. A few armies that are very popular, and then several that are just, some people are still clinging to armies that used to be great, and some people are still trying to find still trying to get their feet on themselves with a less popular army. But I think that there's no surprise at seeing 5 Forces of Nature armies at this event, or 3 Night Stalkers for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
I am a little surprised that there's 4 dwarves.
The dwarves are strong. The dwarves are doing well.
They are.
I mean, is Mike Rossi going to be there? Because that's always a 1 in the dwarf
Mike's
column.
not playing.
He's not playing dwarves.
He's
What?
not playing dwarves. Mike's
No.
coming, but not playing dwarves. I had to read it twice myself.
That's worth the price of admission right there to see Mike Rossi not play dwarfs for like the first time in what 4 years.
All right, my money's on him to win the event. I don't need to see what he's bringing.
He's finally
played
gotten rid of the.
He's played with a handicap for so long that now he's got a chance. So.
There was
This army's so fast. Oh man. Yeah, so we got 5 forces of nature, 4 dwarves, 3 night stalkers, and 3 Behringer. Like I said, a few more dwarves than I would expect, but force of nature, night stalkers, Behringer, you always see those in the Mid-Atlantic a lot. Kind of surprisingly, only 1 elf army and only 1 Sylvankin army.
Were you guys allowing Twilightkin as well? Or-
No.
Red book only.
Okay.
Which makes it even a little more surprising, because I would have expected a couple of people who were thinking about playing Twilightkin to show up and say they're just normal elves or something like that.
Yeah. I think the 2 things that are standing out to me is no Northern Alliance and no Empire of Dust. I feel like both those armies are quite strong right now, and not seeing them at all is pretty suspicious.
What I saw a lot of is people changing and playing something different to what you normally see them play. So it's like, it's great to see people deciding that they're going to give a different army a try.
Because Order of the Green Lady and Order of the Brothermark are not common armies. Like, you don't normally see people bringing those out. We had 1 Green Lady at Nerdhammer, if I recall, back in November. So that was a bit of a surprise.
And Marcelo, you're usually the only one playing Brother Mark. So.
Yeah, normally it's just me. Now there's 2 other people. Now that I stopped playing them for the time being, there's other people. That's good.
Yeah, that's suddenly become popular. Yeah, now Adam, your observation about Empire of Dust, I think, is pretty interesting, because we tend to not have that, but it's really popular in other parts of the country, and it always feels like a blind spot when we get to Masters and we see top players with Empire of Dust, and we're like, oh shit, maybe we should have practiced against this more, because we barely ever see those around here.
Well, and Mantic came out with a gorgeous model line recently with them, so maybe it's a little bit too close to when they were released to get them on the table, but I think
they look amazing.
I think they look great. So
and no Forces of the Abyss.
No
True.
missiles, no. But 2 goblins. We don't normally see 2 goblin players at Mid-Atlantic events. We usually shy away from that. We usually like an elite shooting force, if it's a shooting force, or an alpha strike army. And so Forces of Nature makes sense, because you can do a pretty nasty alpha strike with Forces of Nature. And if you're not going that way, you're going with the defense 6 wall. So I guess that's where the dwarves come in.
And Behringer might be the counter to Northern Alliance, doing Behringer instead. So I kind of see that one.
Wherever you get your Lord on Frostfang fix,
Didn't you hear they got nerfed, Mike?
I know. They're awful now. They're so terrible.
Unplayable.
Completely. Garbage unit, D tier. All right, let's talk a little bit about what we're actually going to be playing for the first round. So first round scenario is Plunder, which I kind of like Plunder, actually. I usually use it in my tournaments. And this is the terrain map that we're going to be using. So a lot of hills over on the right side. Very kind of congested left center side of the table there, with forests and a piece of blocking terrain. A little bit of open space. Kind of centered right on the other side of blocking on the other side of blocking terrain there, but for the most part, like a pretty well spread out field there. So given the way that Marcelo is doing the scoring, which is sort of a modified Bull Shroud system to give a couple of points for a win instead of nothing.
So the Bull Shroud system was actually changed yesterday. So
really?
it is what I'm doing is now the official Bull Shroud system where they added. I felt that we needed to do that, and I was going to do that regardless. But they actually updated the website last night, and they added that, which is great.
So you're the first live playtest then?
Yes, which is what I wanted to do. I wanted to try something different. We always play blackjack or Northern Kings. We have two camps in the Mid-Atlantic. One, that whoever likes one doesn't like the other. There's always arguments about using one or the other, and I thought I gotta find something different. I gotta find something that has a chance of achieving consensus and bring people together to something that at least the great majority will be happy to play. So that's why we're playing tasting Bull Shroud.
Sure. That's not how this works, Marcelo. If one person likes one thing and the other likes the other, and you pick the third option, they both just don't like you anymore.
Yes,
so,
that brings the Mid-Atlantic together. So
it brings them together.
Exactly. They'll unite them together against you.
You will guarantee to get the first part. You will unite the clans in their hatred of Bull Shroud. Which is perfect, because then for like the rest of the year, whichever system people pick, someone will say, well, at least it's not Bull Shroud, right?
There you go. Helping the community.
No, but I'm excited to try it out. Different scoring system just to see how it goes. I'm always open to seeing how it changes play. So given that that's how we're scoring, and the first round is plunder, and the map looks like this, do you guys have any just off the top of your head thoughts about how that might impact how people approach the first round?
I have a question. Being as prepared as I was for this, what is Bull Shroud? Can you just run it down real quick?
Sure.
How do you get points?
So it's a system where you get 12 maximum battle points per round. There is 7 are for victory points, 3 for attrition, 2 for win, 1 for draw, 0 for loss. So max is 12. The 7 is slightly modified in some scenarios so that you always get 7 points. So things like invade or areas that you could end up with far more than 7 unit strength, then that is mathematically modified to make sure that there is a maximum of 7 points available, and that's split amongst the 2 players.
And it's all the total that you get. It's not a differential between the 2 players, right?
No, it's not differentials.
Right. So it's a very low margin kind of scoring system where a win might be 3 points more than the loser in that same game.
So what the complaints that I hear about Northern Kings is that it's too easy to get to 25, and then everybody ends up with there's too many people that end up with maximum scores, and then the ones that don't will never catch them. It's a very, very extreme system. And with blackjack is that the differentials between a win and a loss at 14-7 for win or loss, that it's too big a difference. That you can have games that are very, very close and they don't reflect that. Two camps that have, frankly, personally, I don't care which one I play. Like, I'm happy with any system. But there are valid complaints for both. So we're trying something that's trying to mitigate those 2 weaknesses. Something that's gonna make that win-loss, that 7 a closer score, but something that still rewards you for the win, and still has 3 points of attrition. So we'll see how it pans out. But what I'm hoping we'll achieve out of this is that even if we don't take any one of the 3 systems that this is the one we want to play, that we might tweak one of the 3 and end up with something where we can have a chance of achieving consensus or close to it.
Well, looking through my list, I was curious, given the emphasis on scoring and playing scenario that the point system supports within this tournament, whether or not people kind of geared their armies towards scenario play, high defense to mitigate attrition, and set their armies up for this tournament. That's certainly something I would do if I was seeing this point scenario. I'd be much more hesitant to bring my Trident Realms, which normally don't get a lot of the scenario push for like 7 points over scenario, or do scenario play very well. They normally try for like just a small win. And when I was going through the list, I saw a lot of defense 6, but one of the armies that I thought might be a dark horse, and it might be too soon to start that, would be the Orcs, because with their massive number, lots of unit strength, the ability to hold the field and objectives, this scoring system might actually support an Orc style of play. But that would be interesting to see in the Mid-Atlantic.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Well, you bring up what people have in their specific lists and how it might apply to the scoring system. So let's start talking about some specific lists and some specific matchups then. One thing we can say for certain is that the victory margins are likely to be smaller and a lot closer. And, just eking out small wins is probably not going to be enough to get you where you want to go. You're going to have to try to pull some big wins here or there to secure a spot at the top. So let's move on to Table 1. So Table 1 is going to be Chris Fisher versus do not attempt to adjust your set. That is Jeff Traish. For those of you who follow the greater Kings of War community, Jeff is coming all the way from Australia. Very, very, very well-known, very successful player from Australia who's making the trip here to play with us. And I'm just stoked to get to meet him in person. Like, I've done lots of live streams with him, and it's one of those things like, never thought I'd be in the same room with the guy. But Jeff's here, and that's going to be great. And I think this is actually a challenge match, isn't it?
Yeah, so you might people might or might not know that Jeff was one of the original Battle Pilgrims. So Jeff and I, started the club in Australia some 17, 18 years ago when I used to have it there. So I'm stoked that Jeff and Ken, the 2 Australians, are coming here for the event. Yeah. So I'm gonna be hosting them at my house, and Jeff and I used to play 1 day a week for many years. This is way before Kings of War. I'm talking about Warhammer Fantasy times, but I'm ecstatic that they're coming.
Yeah. So Chris is bringing his Forces of Nature, and Jeff is bringing Behringer. Chris is coming at 12 drops, which is a little low for this tournament, and 21 unit strength. And Jeff's bringing 15 drops, which is right about average, maybe slightly on the high side, and 26 unit strength. Looking over Chris's list, we got some Scorch Wings, we have some Greater Air Elementals, and a double Tree Herder combo there, a Tree Herder and the Wolffather. Hunters of the Wild regiments are actually way more popular in the Forces of Nature list at this tournament than I expected them to be. I think nearly all of them have one. And in this case, Chris has 2. A little surprising there. And then over on Jeff's side, triple Night Raiders regiments with throwing axes, Snow Troll hordes, got 3 of those, a couple Mounted Suns regiments, a couple of Thanes, 3 Snow Troll primes, a couple of things on Frost Fangs. Pretty cool Behringer list. A lot of individuals that are scoring, which might come in very handy in this scoring system. I don't know. What do you guys think? What are you seeing here?
Yeah, Jeff's army definitely has a lot of those 50s that are nimble in the double Thanes and triple Snow Troll primes. I like those. I think they're really great for scenario play. And, when they're all relatively cheap, 120, 125 points, you got to deal with them, but there's a lot to deal with when they're 13-16s or 13-15s respectively. So both of them defense 5. It takes a lot to take those types of units off the board.
Right.
So looking at the 2 lists, what do you do as Chris? Like, do you go forward? Do you do aggressive scouting, which his army is capable of doing with the Tree Herder and the Forest Shamblers, but then you're in range for the Behringer to charge you, and if they charge you, they will pick up those units. Like they do have the Alpha Strike capability. Do you hold back, but you don't really have the shooting? So I think this is one of those tough matches for Chris going into it. And I think Jeff has the answers to take to deal with the ability that Chris has to push forward with Scout and to kind of attempt to control the battlefield, which would normally be much more successful against a non-Alpha Strike army.
Yeah, this is a very typical Jeff trash list in that it's got high drops, high unit strength, very little spent in terms of magical items, cheaper items. And when you look at just the number of drops difference, you got to go and pick up tokens. And Jeff's got more units to pick up the tokens. I think that while Chris has a good list for this scenario, I think the Behringer is a better list for this specific scenario.
I think the only question or that I'd have for Jeff, if I was able to ask him, is he doesn't include the Boots of Striding to give Pathfinder. So his only Strider or Pathfinder capability are the 2 Frost Fangs. Like the Night Raiders have it, but that's I wouldn't be overly concerned with them trying to charge me, Alpha Strike me. So why he didn't use that item would be probably the question I'd ask him, and that might be one of those things that maybe Chris, doing the Tree Herder, can kind of use the terrain to soak a charge or two.
All right, so let's wrap back around. Adam, who's your pick for this match?
Well, I can't go against Trash, so I'm going to vote for the original Pilgrim himself.
Sounds good. Marcelo.
I mean, Jeff have won the Australian Masters so many times. I mean, so I would go Jeff Trash.
All right. Ray.
I'm going to vote Chris because I think that Jeff is going to show up at Marcelo's house and have an absolutely wonderful time and be kind of in trouble for the first game, and Chris is going to take full advantage of him. The hospitality Marcelo will show him.
I'm going to vote that jet lag actually wins this game, which will translate to Chris winning this game. Mid-Atlantic TO Solidarity. That's all I got. So moving on to table 2, Joe Ferry versus Steve Forster. It's going to be a Trident Realm versus Goblins matchup. Ooh. So 15 drops over on the Trident Realm side for 21 unit strength and 19 drops over on the Goblin side. Definitely one of the higher drop armies in the event, coming in at 24 unit strength. I think I played Joe last year, and I think he played a very similar list. So a lot of Thule, a lot of fast-moving but kind of fragile units. Of course, you're going to have a lot of Ensnare. He's got a couple of Gigas Hordes. He's got 3 Leviathan Banes for some shooting. He's, of course, got Ector. He's got 3 Depth Horror Eternals, talking about, individual monsters that can pick stuff up. And then over on Steve's side, he's got, the Rabble Regiments and Hordes like you'd expect to see. He's got some Trolls, he's got some Mincer Mobs. And then we've got the Trombones, the Slashers with the War Trumpets, the Wingets, Bangets, and a Whiz. In my experience, Trident Realm don't like getting shot at. They like you to charge them and then not get anywhere. So I feel like Goblins maybe isn't a great matchup for them. But Adam, I think you have a lot of experience playing against Goblins. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, but usually that Goblin army has like 10 more drops in it. So it doesn't even really compare. No, Steve's got a good list here. He's definitely going for the combined arms goblins versus just the mass shooting. But that being said, there's still enough goblin shooting that Trident Realms is definitely going to be terrified of it. So, it's Goblins love seeing defense 3 across the board. I'll say that.
They really do. Marcelo, what do you think?
Well, what Joe has going for him at least is that he's got some stealthy, and there's a lot of terrain in the middle of the table. There's 2 big forests. There is impassable terrain. Like it's a very blocked up, choked up kind of. So he's got that at least in that this map is, if you're gonna go up against shooting, this is a map you want to do it in because there is a lot of visibility blockers. But like everyone said, despite that, there's still a lot of shooting, and Steve has so much more tournament experience, so that counts for something too.
Also true. Ray, you
He's
played
a
Trident
really
Realm.
strong player.
How do you feel about this matchup, Ray?
I tried Leviathan Banes at the dead of winter. I wasn't able to get them to work, so maybe Joe might have more success with 3 than I had with 2. If I was Steve, the thing that I'd be happy to see would be that the Thule have Hammer of Measured Force, because anything that brings up my Goblin defense to defense 4 is great. The key thing that I'd be watching out for would be those Depth Horror Eternal Heroes, because again, they're 50 by 50, they're nimble, they have ensnare. They're very hard for the Goblins to kind of move once they get stuck in. But playing Goblins is always a hard matchup. It's kind of funny that for plus 24 in shooting, I think Joe has the advantage with the 3 Leviathan Banes to Steve not really having the normal war machines that you would expect from a Goblin army. So Steve definitely has the advantage at under 12-inch range shooting, but when it's over 24 inches, Joe has the advantage. It just comes down to what range do they want to fight at.
All right. So let's wrap back around. Adam, who's your pick for this match?
Ooh, that's tough. But I know Steve fairly well, and I know he's been doing pretty well with his Goblins lately. So I'm going to go with Steve on this one.
All right. Marcelo.
I would love to see Joe win. I play with him regularly. I love him, but I think Steve's going to win it.
All right. Ray.
My brain says Steve and my heart says Joe because he's playing Trident Realm. So I'm going to go with Joe because Trident Realm forever.
Trident Realm forever. Oh, man. I'm so glad you did that, because I was about to say, well, like, there's no way I could possibly vote for Goblins, even though I'm pretty sure they're going to win. But since you voted for Joe, and it wouldn't be a clean sweep if I said Steve, I'm going to say Steve. Because I played Joe last year. He's good with this list, but I was not playing a shooting army. I was playing a combat army that had to walk up and punch it. And just like you guys were saying, Steve's got a lot more tournament experience, and I feel like Goblins are favored in this matchup to begin with. So I'm going to go for Steve for this one. And that will take us to table 3. And man, if this is a marquee matchup, like this is like a, top table last round call to arms kind of matchup here. So this is Ken Ferris versus Mike Zemelmeyer. Ken, of course, our other visiting Australian. And did he win the Australian Masters, or was it Clash of Kings?
He won the Australian Masters in January this year.
All right.
So in the Australian calendar, there is a ranking that's kept for a whole calendar year, and then in late January, early February, they play the Masters for the previous calendar year. And the Masters, for them, it's like only a very small number. It's like top 12, I think it is. So it's a very tight group that really, you're playing a top player every single time, no question.
Yeah. And this was not a challenge match. So this is just a little gift that the pairing randomizer chose to give us here for the first round.
Yes. This is the one I'm watching. Like, as a TO, when I got time, this is the table that I'm sitting at to watch
100%.
these 2 guys.
I hope my game finishes early, because I'd like to watch the end of this. If you were streaming, man, this would be the table to stream, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is going to be a great match. So Ken is bringing Behringer, because I guess that's all they'll let Australians out of the country with. And Zemelmeyer is bringing Salamanders, which I think is kind of a newish army for him. I know last year he was playing Ogres, famously. Over on the Behringer side, you got those Draugr regiments for good unlocks. He's got a horde of human clansmen. He's got some Night Raiders with wolf handlers, and he went with bows instead of throwing axes. He's got 3 mounted sun regiments for some really fast punch, some Maguses for some shooting, 2 Lords on Frostfangs, of course, with Snow Foxes, because why wouldn't you? And Krufnir, which I think is the troll named character. And then over on Zed's side, he's got some fire elementals. He's got some Rhinosaur cavalry for a lot of pretty fast punch. He's got greater fire elementals. He took the Ancient Phoenix, the Pale Rider Rakawas, which is a pretty cool looking model. Battle Captain on Rhinosaur, Clan Lord on the Raptor, Mage Priest with Amulet of Fire Heart, and Surge, and Veil. I don't know how much use Veil is. Well, Magus, yeah, okay. So casting Veil of Shadows might come in handy in this matchup.
Those Maguses are the heroes, so that's Lightning Bolt Magus versus
so they don't care.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not the Conclave. Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
Right. So what do you think?
I think Mike went from having 18 drops to 18 unit strength, and I just want to point that out. So that is my professional analysis. We'll move on. Marcelo.
Look, these are two amazing players. Mike won the Pilgrimage last year, and Ken won the Masters in January. So there's no questions that these two guys know what they're doing. But Ken won it with Behringer, and Mike is, pretty new to Salamanders. I really like his Salamanders list. It's very different. You don't normally, there's no tyrants. We got fire elementals, so I'm not sure how effective it is. I think it's very, he's experimenting a lot. I think it's got too few drops and too little unit strength.
All right, great.
I think I'm going to be in agreement with Marcelo. I think my issue looking at the two lists is Ken has the 2 Drager regiments and the Human Clansman Horde, which gives him a lot of scenario play going into it with approximately 8 unit strength and 3 objective holding elements. Whereas Mike doesn't really have those cheaper elements to kind of get the objectives, hold the objectives, or build up the unit strength. Because really that 8 unit strength and 3 drops, if you take them away, or even just the 2 Draggers, 4 unit strength, 2 drops, that kind of makes the 2 of them the same, 12 and 20 versus 12 and 18. So I think that's probably the difference maker for this game, and Mike's going to have to figure out a way to overcome that difference in army style, and to use his very elite army going in with the scenario layout and the points that this tournament has.
Yep. John Quayle has popped in to remind us that Mike is not new to Salamanders. Certainly not brand new to Salamanders. Just hasn't been using them as his primary army for more than a year, I think is what we mostly mean when we say new to Salamanders. But sure, yeah, no. Mike gets in plenty of practice with his armies on UB playing by email. He's definitely not showing up like cold to a GT. So I'm going to go ahead and vote first this time instead of asking one of you guys to. Because I'm not going to vote against a club mate, so I'm going to say Mike. Ray, what do you think?
Well, my shirt says it all. I'm voting for Mike.
We believe in you.
What happened to objective opinions?
We never claimed to be objective. Oh, no.
I don't think that was part of the agreement.
No.
I said entertaining. I did not say objective. Marcelo, what do you think?
I think Ken, for the reasons that I gave, will win this one.
Seems reasonable. Adam,
is there any way to stream this one and record this for future? Because I would actually love to watch this after the fact. Like, if anyone has the ability and is at Pilgrimage, like, please, like, set up a camera on the table.
I will ask. I haven't. I don't have.
If Mike Ireland is doing his usual bring his phone and stream his own games to Twitch thing, maybe we could ask him to like point it at the other table for
do his first game. Yeah. I'll ask him.
All right, who's your pick, Adam?
I'm going to go with Ken on this one.
Yep, fair.
More drops, more unit strength, more better. Right, Mike?
Master solidarity there is what that is. All right. So that's going to take us to table 4. Dale Motley versus Derek Sandstrom. So this is going to be, I noticed that there were like 2 Order of Green Lady and 2 Order of Brother Mark, and I think they may have both been paired off against each other. Maybe I feel like maybe that's something that comes up later. But this is definitely a brotherhood family squabble here. So Order of the Green Lady versus Order of the Brother Mark. 13 drops over on Dale's side for 25 unit strength. 16 drops over on Derek's side with 24 unit strength. Dale's bringing a lot of Centaur regiments, which is kind of interesting, kind of a light, medium cavalry kind of thing. Order of Redemption, which is just so good. A couple of Forsaken Hordes for some flying cav. Beast of Nature with wings and 7 attacks, just the way they come out of the box. Avatar the Green Lady and some good support characters there. Over on the Brother Mark side, a lot more infantry, some spearmen, a penitence horde, the Paladin Monster Slayers regiment. Oh, but those are cav, aren't they? The Monster Slayers cavalry, right? Or are they infantry?
Yes.
I forget. Yeah. Some Quicksilver Lancers, the Order of the Abyssal Hunt, which is really nasty. Some artillery, both a regular Phoenix and an Ancient Phoenix. Some support characters, and High Chaplain Augustus. Let's start with Marcelo this time, since you're a Brother Mark player. What do you think of this Brother Mark list?
So I think that it's a very infantry-heavy list. I mean, there is some cavalry, but the advent of the Phoenix and the changes that it made, I have not played with Phoenixes ever while playing Brother Mark, because it's something that's fairly new. And I'm very curious to see whether he can, how solid he can make those hordes of infantry to hold the centers. So this list has more shooting than it looks like. I played against it, and you don't realize just how much shooting it has. Like that War Wizard with 16 fireballs, it surprises you. It surprises you. So I think it's a stronger list than it looks. And I played it, and I got a surprise the first time I played it.
All right. Ray, what do you think?
I think Dale has the speed advantage. He has the ability to pick his combats. There's not a lot that Derek can do to kind of stop Dale from using his movement to set up the charges he wants. And with that amount of power between the Forsaken Hordes and Order of Redemption, I think he has the ability to blow through the hordes and blow through the regiments in one go. The Spearman regiments will be a bit harder because of phalanx, but there's still, the Redemption has crushing one base, so as do the Forsaken. So even then, it's not impossible for a double charge to blow through. And both sides actually have a fair bit of heal on either side. So if you're not killing something, the ability for it to be healed relatively quickly is there. I didn't bet on Dale at Dead of Winter, so I'm not going to underestimate him going into this tournament.
Adam, what do you think?
I actually think that Derek has enough staying power. Yes, Dale has the speed, but there's two things that I'm looking at. The men-at-arms spearmen infantry regiments, they affect everything in Dale's army. So phalanx is going to be a problem for Dale. And then Derek has, I believe, 2 sources of rally with the High Chaplain Augustus and then the Exemplar Paladin on foot with the lead front. So he can have any of these regiments up to like 17 19s and the hordes up to 24 26. That's not easy to break on a single charge. You're going to have to double charge most of the regiments then.
Well, those men-at-arms, because of veteran command, are 14-16 to begin with. So that right, like 16-18 spearmen.
16-18 phalanx, like double charges really isn't going to break them because of the phalanx. So I think Derek has a lot of stuff going for him in this matchup, and with it being plunder, he can just move those infantry up onto the tokens and just sit there and say, well, you got to commit sometime, Dale, because these 3 siege artillery are going to hit eventually. So I like Derek's list a lot.
Yeah, I am not sure. like I think it's definitely clear who's going to be the hammer and who's going to be the anvil here, right? Like who's going to be charging into who and who's going to be counterpunching and shooting to edge it forward and grinding it out. I don't know. Let's see which way you guys vote, and then I'll make up my mind. Marcelo, who do you like in this match?
I think on paper it looks like the Green Lady has the stronger, faster list, but I've played the Brother Mark list and I've seen how surprising it is. It's very easy to underestimate. I'm gonna go for Derek on this one.
All right, Adam.
I'm also going for Derek because yay infantry.
Ray, what do you think?
I'm going to vote for my for Dale because it's clearly his first tournament in the Mid-Atlantic and he's never played before. His time to shine.
Yeah, I think. Oh man, I think I'm also going to go for Dale just because he has been doing better and better at the last couple of events he's gone to.
Yeah, he has.
And I think he's going to be able to figure out how to maneuver his force correctly to pick apart this Brother Mark list. But I'm not super confident in that, but I'm going to say Dale anyway.
I wouldn't be surprised if he gets 3 practice games in this week against Derek's list.
Right, like the Nerdhammer guys are in their private chat right now being like, all right, who's got Derek's list? We're firing up UB. I need some. I think this game is likely to be pretty close. I think we can tell just by looking at the lists and the scenario they're playing, kind of how that game is going to go. So this might be one of those where like a couple of die rolls one way or another, like artillery hits early and like wavers something critical on the Green Lady side and it screws up everything, or a couple of spiked nerve rolls by Dale in turn 2 or 3 and like flips the whole game over. All right, let's move on to table 5. This is Gabe Toth versus Jake Chirico. Gabe's bringing dwarves, and Jake is playing undead. Me and Jake clearly cannot paint new armies, as we are the only people still playing undead. I'm working on it. I thought I had till the end of March. I forgot it was at the beginning of March, so that's why I'm playing undead. I don't know what Jake's excuse is. But over on Gabe's side with the dwarves, he's got 14 drops coming in at 22 unit strength. And on Jake's side, he's got also 14 drops coming in at 25. Over on Gabe's side, you've got a bunch of Iron Guard regiments with throwing mastiffs. That is a kind of a trend for the dwarf list, the several dwarf lists that we see. I guess he can only afford mastiffs on 3 because he put the warbow on the last one. He's got a whole horde of Iron Watch rifles with elite. He's got some sharpshooters. He's got some cannons, Gallick's Fury, a Berserker Lord with wings, a Dwarf Lord on large beast, a favorite Ironheart. All pretty solid choices, I think. Over on Jake's side, he's got ghoul troops for some chaff. He's got those triple mummy regiments that he seems to really like. He's got some Soul Reaver infantry. He's got a couple of White Hordes, some Rev Cav troops to screen them. He's got some Soul Reaver Cav, which you will see now because Soul Reaver infantry don't have 25 attacks anymore. So there's like a reason to take the cavalry again. A couple of Necromancers for support and surge, and Zuanok Iceblood, who you never see anybody play. So I don't know if Jake is just like, I have a cool looking model that I really want to use. So that's why I'm throwing him in or not. What do you think?
Oh, no. That's not true. Zunok is played when you want to take Veil of Shadows in your undead army, and you realize that it's just cheaper to get the special character with it. So
rather than to pay to upgrade a Necromancer and get the spell out of the library?
Exactly. I mean, it's Veil of Shadows 3 for him, and 120 points. He's also inspiring, so if you took another Necromancer, you're lacking the inspiring. So it really makes sense just specifically for that. If he took him because he wanted extra surge or fireball, then he's probably not doing it optimally, but I assume that he wants the Veil of Shadows, knowing how much shooting is typically in a mid-Atlantic event. So but yeah, I like Gabe's army quite a bit in this matchup. Yeah, I think that there's a couple things that are just a little curious on both sides. That it's still a toss up. The Berserker infantry troop with Brew of Sharpness seems a little odd to me. To get 15 attacks hitting on 3s instead of 4s for 35 points on them, just seems a little weird. But then the one thing that I think we overlooked was the Brew of Sharpness on the Soul Reaver Cav, which puts them to hitting at 2s, and that is terrifying. So I think Jake definitely has the better hammers, but obviously dwarves are going to come with the defense. So yeah, this one's kind of a toss-up.
Marcelo.
Yeah, I think they're pretty even. Obviously, the shooting of the dwarves is going to whittle down the undead before they get to the other side. And then when they get to the other side, the dwarves are going to be waiting. I mean, in this scenario, the tokens are in the center. So they're going to be getting there at a similar time. I would... I think that seeing sharpness on the Berserker troop tells me that Gabe probably hasn't been playing for long.
Right.
The 3 mummy regiments are actually tougher to move than what most people will give them credit for. And that moving up, even though it moves up at its slow, steady pace, once they get onto the objective, you're going to be hard-pressed to move them, even with all the shooting you have between the heal that the Ice Blood's Fireball provides and the Drain Life and all the other capabilities that Jake has. So I would actually be worried to play against Jake's army in this case, because even if you go up to get the objectives, he has the speed to cause the hammers to take away your units that do it. And Gabe doesn't have necessarily the troops to go up to grab those objectives. He can sit back and shoot Jake to death, but I don't know what he's going to go up to get the objectives with.
That makes sense. So are you picking Jake in this match?
I'm picking Jake.
All right.
I'm taking a drink with that, but I'm picking Jake.
Marcelo, what do you think?
I'm picking Jake as well.
All right. Adam?
I am also picking Jake, and I'm going to say Veil of Shadows is the reason.
That is a pretty good reason. So now you guys have put me in this really difficult position where unless I want a clean sweep, I have to pick dwarfs over undead. So I'm sorry, Gabe. That's something I am just not willing to do.
We found Mike's limit.
Oh, wow. I didn't know he had a limit.
No.
Oh, wow. A clean sweep? Is this the first time it happens ever?
I got to give it to Jake. Like you guys are pointing out, triple mummy regiments are super duper powerful. This is very similar to the list that Jake won Crossroads with a couple years ago, and it was a singles event instead of a team event. And Veil of Shadows, if Jake gets to go first, like Gabe has a ton of shooting that Jake doesn't really want to see, but there's a lot of terrain on this table, and if Jake can get Veil of Shadows up on his guys, he can start moving up. I think Jake's probably got an edge in this one. So yeah, that'll be a clean sweep for Jake. We'll see if we can avoid those going forward. Moving on to table 6, John Helbig versus some guy that walked in off the street. This is going to be League of Ordia versus the other Undead. Once again, 14 drops is nice and popular. The League of Ordia has 29 unit strength to my 23. He's got a couple of polearm block regiments, a couple of halfling archer regiments, which you don't see very often. He's got one of the Dogs of War hordes, the Razors, with the Hammer of Measured Force. He's got some halfling knights, a couple of Arnagard hordes, Battle Shrine, a couple of mounted barons, which are pretty useful. The named Duke character that I don't think I've seen before, and a Duke on Ancient Winged Erles, which I think is a pretty popular take for them. Certainly Honor Guard, you see plenty of those. The Honor Guard and the Battle Shrine are kind of insta takes there. I'm bringing some zombies for cheap unlocks, a Revenant Horde for a decent anvil, some Wraith troops for thick chaff, couple of units of Soul Reavers with some waiver mitigation, White Horde with Meat of Madness, so they'll go 15 just specifically so they can outcharge Honor Guard. Because I've had to play Ed recently in a couple of the more recent tournaments I've been to, and I really hated having the same charge speed as those guys. Soul Reaver Cav Regiment, a couple of Balefire Catapults, a Mounted Vamp, Necromancer, and a Vampire Lord on Undead Pegasus. So, Adam, what do you think?
Well, just I know you said you haven't seen the special character before. He actually gives Rally 2 to Cavalry. So that helps his Halfling Knights units. So it doesn't work for the Honor Guard. So just the Knights are bumped up. They're actually a respectable 15, 17 then. So yeah. I'm just kind of questioning some of the picks for John. The Halfling Archers seem, I don't know, kind of worthless. They're irregular as well. I just don't see really what they're doing. And then, there's just not a cohesive. I just can't picture the battle line, I guess, when it comes to the League of Ordia army. And then Mike's army is obviously just terrible, so I won't even talk about it.
It's awful.
No. I like your army. I mean, like Undead should. They have several hammers. You have quite a few utility units as well with the Wraiths, with the Vampire Peg. And you like your Balefire Catapults. You've been playing those for a long time, haven't you?
I had them at Masters in New York, and then I stopped using them, and then I decided that I would bring them back one more time. So this is actually the first time I played with them in a couple of years. But yeah, I used to play. You used to play with a whole battery of them. Yeah.
Because I think last time I played you was Masters in New York. So
yeah, I think so. Yeah. And I don't recall the catapults doing much.
They didn't. We'll just say they didn't do enough.
They didn't do enough, which might be why they went back on the shelf. Until now, they're ready. They're hungry. What do you think, Marcelo?
I know John, and he's new to League of Ordia. This is the first time I ever seen him pull it out. And he's played Brother Mark. He's played other armies. And I see the concept that he's trying to achieve. He's trying to have, a hammer and anvil type army. But the anvils are not strong enough to defense 4, and the hammers are not strong enough. And it's good to have, some shooting sprinkled to have a balanced list, but halfling archers are not the answer. So, I think that the next iteration you see of John's Ordia, this is going to look very different to this. He's experimenting. He doesn't really know what's going to work and what's not. Yours, Mike, I was going to say the opposite to Adam. I played you many times and I've never been against your catapult, so I was surprised that you actually had any shooting. But your list, it's a very well balanced and dead list. I like the hammers. You have the speed where you need it. You've got the best chaff in the game with the Wraith troops. I think you have a much, much stronger list. The only thing I'm questioning is, if you used to have, whether or not really the Vampire Lord and Pegs. I remember, I think you used to run. You do have a Vampire Lord mounted. That used to cost me nightmares.
I still got that guy. I'm never getting rid of that guy.
I thought you dropped him. No, he's good.
No.
He's good.
I just got him a friend that flies. That's all.
I like
Ray, what do you think? Thank you. You're muted, Ray.
We can't hear you, Ray.
I can see what John's trying to do. He's trying to do a classical army with his center, with the Dogs of War, with his pole arm, block regiment on either side, halflings kind of in reserve or that. And then he has like the two flanks. As Marcelo already pointed out, I don't think they're strong enough to do that, and I don't think he has the right pieces of skirmishers to go in front. You have the Wraith troops, you have the Soul Reaver infantry regiments, and you concentrate on one flank with the Soul Reaver and the Whites. So I think you're going to crush that flank. I think your center can go after his center, and I think you're going to have to give ground on the other flank. And that would be my guess as to how this game's going to go. Is you're going to refuse one, hammer the other, and your center should be able to beat his center. And I'm completely non-biased as an aristocrat.
Okay, so I'm guessing Ray's going to vote for me.
You might presume that.
I might presume that. I'm going to go ahead and vote for myself. Shocker, because it'd be really weird for me to vote against me. Even though I haven't been playing great lately. I've been having terrible dice luck the last few weeks, and I'm hoping that I'm just getting it all out of my system so that when I get to the tournament, I actually do okay. Adam, what do you think?
Well, it sounds like you're due then, Mike, so I might as well vote for the guy that's been unlucky leading up to the event.
That is fair. Marcelo?
Look, I would love to vote for John because he's an amazing guy. He's, but, I think you're going to crush him, Mike. So I'll vote for you.
Jeez. All right, second clean sweep then.
Reluctantly, Mike. Very reluctantly.
Very reluctantly, that's fair. Second clean sweep of the night. Everybody loves Undead. That's the takeaway.
Two clean sweeps, both Undead. Yep.
2 clean sweeps, both Undead. No pressure. No pressure at all. So moving on to table 7, we have Hergred versus Mike Gill. So this is the first of our herd lists. So 2 herd lists versus Behringer. Both are, once again, at 14 drops. That's pretty much the average for the event. Over on the herd side, we got 27 unit strength versus 21 on the Behringer side. Harry has a bunch of tribal warrior regiments and a horde with sharpness, some guardian brutes, which are pretty nice, a Lycan's horde with brew of strength for some speed, some hitting power, a couple of braced rider troops for some fast screens, the Stampede, the Great Chieftain with the Horn of Migration, and then a Druid, a Lycan Alpha, and a Centaur Chief. Over on the Behringer side, we got some Draugr for the cheap unlocks. We got a Knight Raider regiment swapped up to bows, a couple of Fallen hordes. Here's a blast from the past. Some Mounted Suns with the Deceiver upgrade. Some Snow Foxes for some nice fast maneuverability there. Some Magus Conclaves with Famulus upgrade, a Frost Giant, a Scald Magnild, and a Lord on Frostfang with a Snow Fox, just the way they come. Let's start with Marcelo this time. What do you think, Marcelo?
Sure. I think this game's going to be over in turn 4 because 2 combat-only armies are just going to race against each other, and it's going to be a big scramble in the middle. The herd has higher unit strength, but it's more fragile. I think the Behringer list has more staying power. The herd obviously has speed, but Mike is a good player, and he knows how to use. He's normally playing Northern Alliance, so the Behringer is a bit different for him, but it's not that different. So, and he knows how to use it.
All right, Ray.
I don't think the speed differential is as much as you think, because all the tribal warriors are speed 6. Same with the guardian brutes. So the herd list, actually both herd lists in this tournament are slower than what I would expect to see, with a lot of speed 6, but not a lot faster than speed 6. So with the speed differential being closer, it's going to come down to a smash in the middle. I think this could be anyone's game, to be honest. I don't really have great insights to provide to this one. I'll flip a coin and see who wins. I don't know either player, so that's the other thing.
All right. Adam.
Yeah, it's very evenly matched up, I think, just in general. The Fallen kind of equal out with the Lycans, the Guardian Brutes, somewhat equal out with the Mounted Suns. Like there's just equal hammer to kind of chaff type ratio. I would actually expect this matchup I think it's going to be the opposite of what Marcelo said. I think this is going to be a stalemate for the first 3 turns, and then turn 4, they're finally going to actually collide and say, well, I got to pick up a token anyway. Because there's only a couple of like true chaff units that'll venture forward and go pick up a token and then just bait, say, hey, come hit me if you want the token. Otherwise, I'll just walk away. Yeah, there's not a clear winner in my mind on this one either. So I'm going to vote for whatever Ray doesn't vote for.
Sounds like a great strategy. All right, let's wrap back around then to Marcelo. Who's your pick for this match?
I will go for Mike Gill.
All right. Ray, what do you think?
I'm going to go for Herd because I don't think we see Herd anywhere near as often in the Mid-Atlantic, so it's the unique army. And then Adam has to vote against me, so that brings me
obviously. Yeah. I voted for every Behringer, so I feel good about my pick.
All right. Yeah, if Bill Goodrick isn't coming, there's usually no Herd player, right? Wow. I don't know. Yeah, though this is a tough call. I think Harry's got more tournament experience, so I'm going to vote Herd.
I think if there was a bit of scout in the Herd list, I'd feel more confident with my vote for Harry. But as it is, I think this one would be a toss-up for me, and I honestly don't know who's going to win. It should be a good match.
Yeah, and I think you guys are calling it right. Like, it just depends on like how anxious they're both feeling. If they're both ready to go, then they might just run straight at each other, or they might, play coy for 3 turns and then all hell will break loose. But like, there's not a whole lot of grind on either side here. I think like once it gets going, it's going to be super bloody, super quick.
Yeah, I don't think there's any wound mitigation, so everything's going to stick outside of what Iron Resolve on the Fallen is like the only thing. So,
right.
And the Druid with his 2 heals or her 2 heals, whatever it is, like not significant.
Who will be busy casting Bane Chant the entire game to help get through the Behringer? So yeah,
right.
All right, so let's go on to table 8. This is going to be a dwarf versus a nature match. So this is John Medaglia. Thank you. I can talk. I need some water. Versus Justin Lingle. So this is another of our dwarf lists versus another of our Forces of Nature lists. So these are like the 2 most popular armies at the tournament. So of course they're going to run into each other at some point statistically. It's just got to happen. So very low drop game here. 12 drops on the dwarf side versus 11 drops on the Forces of Nature side. Also kind of low unit strength compared to the rest of the field, coming at 20 for the dwarves and 19 for the Forces of Nature. Looking over the dwarf side, there's an Ironclad horde. There's a couple of hordes of Earth Elementals for a nice defense 6 wall. Brock Riders for the counterpunch. An actual Greater Earth Elemental, Gallic's Fury, a couple of Stone Priests for surge support for all the Elementals. A mounted Berserker Lord with a Blade of Beast Slayer, Steel Juggernaut, and Faber Ironheart. This feels like kind of an old school 2nd edition kind of dwarf list, doesn't it?
Rocks and Rocks.
Rocks and Rocks, baby.
Rocks and Rocks.
It's a throwback. I love it. And then over on the Force of Nature side, there's that Hunter of the Wild Regiment up front. Some Forest Shamblers. Once again, more Earth Elemental hordes. So a whole bunch of Defense 6 walls staring at each other that may or may not get to each other before the game ends here. A Greater Fire Elemental, the Gladewalker Druid, kitted out kind of the way you would expect to see them, with the Ring of Harmony, Heal, Surge, Veil of Shadows. Kapoka, the Hidden Savior, although I guess that might come into play against the Brock Riders. And triple tree men, actually, 2 tree herders and a Wilt Father. And this might be the only Forces of Nature list that doesn't have Greater Air Elementals in it.
Yeah.
Probably because he went for three tree herders instead. So, Adam, what do you think?
I think that's, if you're going to go this far, you should have just done an all scouting army, Justin. Like, get rid of the Earth Elementals, get some more Hunters, Forest Shamblers, get the mini tree herder in there. Like, it should have been all tree army. That No, but seriously, I do actually like that we're seeing more greater fire elementals. They're just better, like bone giants, and cheaper. Obviously, they get outshone by the greater air elementals that you're seeing, but greater fires are an extremely good pick. So, and John's list, with 12 drops, but it has 3 individuals, so it's only 9 unit strength drops. And then Justin has 2 individuals, so he also has 9 unit strength. So there's only 9 units on each side that are going to be able to pick up tokens, and there's 5 tokens to pick up. So this could easily just be, I'm going to take this flank, you're going to take that flank, we'll each have 2, and we'll fight over the middle one. Yeah, I think that I like the dwarves better when it comes to punchiness, though, versus the force of nature. But they're both obviously very defensive armies.
Well, I'm glad I'm able to vote against you, Adam.
Okay, go ahead.
Marcelo, what do you think?
Well, there is very high defense on both sides, like so much defense 6 on both sides. So this is going to be, I think, another one where they just move towards each other and start dishing it out. If they want to engage, or it might be like Adam said, that they end up going in different flanks. I don't see, in terms of the list themselves, I don't see one having a big advantage over the other. Like, I think these 2 lists are very evenly matched. But Justin is a far, far more experienced tournament player. But I mean, this could easily be a draw. If they choose to go to different flanks and pick up different tokens, this could easily be a draw, or very close to a draw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, likely to be a very low, small margin kind of match. Ray, what do you think?
I'm going to take the opposite view. I think Justin's list, these 2 lists were ones that I looked at and I was like, are people building these lists just for this tournament with the high defense 6 and the ability to grind and the ability to minimize the attrition that the opponent gets? And Justin's list in particular, he's been playing air elementals consistently up until this tournament. So this switch to a heavy defense 6 scouting is a completely different forces of nature list than what I've seen him play for the last year. And the reason why I think this will not be a grind and not be close is he has the 2 4 Shambler hordes and the 3 tree herders that all have scout, and all have scout with speed 6, so they're on the objectives turn 1. And tree herders and 4 shamblers will be hard for the dwarfs to move off of those objectives, and he only needs to have 3. So I think this will be Justin's game to lose. I'm putting the pressure on him. And I think it's his game to lose because of the scout and having that ability right off the start to put the pressure on. One thing I'd love to see would be an Earth Elemental Horde versus Earth Elemental Horde battle, because I don't think it would ever go anywhere anytime soon. But that would be my personal wish for this battle.
I think that last 10 turns, so it's not going to have an end.
Because it would take them, 3 turns to even, contact? Yeah. And at that point, they're, 18 attacks, hitting on 4s, so 9 hits, wounding on 5, so 3 wounds. The rest of the game, they'd both still be there, so, yeah.
But brutal.
That brutal. All it takes is 1 spike die roll after 5 turns of grinding. All right, Ray, so it sounds like you are going to vote for Justin then?
I'm going to vote for Justin. I think the scout is the difference in this, and I think the dwarfs do not want to see a scouting army in the scenario play.
Seems fair. Adam, what do you think?
I think that there is one thing that should be mentioned, and that's when you scout up onto a token, you cannot pick it up for a scout move. Nope. It is after after a phase that you can pick it up. So they'll have to just stand there on top of the tokens for a turn, but they could do it. I'm going to go with dwarves because you know what? Yeah, you can scout all 3, 4, 5. You can get all 5 tokens on turn 1 if you want, but man, you only have 11 units, so you're going to have to spread out to get all of them, and the dwarves get a respawn. So, yeah, John, don't let me down.
Marcelo.
I will go with Justin.
All right. I think just as a tribute to the old school dwarf list that Alex Chavez used to play that I lost to for months straight, which I like to think is how he got good enough with the list to win Masters with it that year, just by
Thanks to you.
just by mercilessly beating me to a pulp every week for like 4 months straight. I think I'm going to vote for John. I think the Dwarves might have a shot.
Every master player has to have a stepping stone that they use to get there. So
yes,
you're proud of being the stepping stone, Mike.
That's right. So that is going to be 2 and 2, split between dwarves and forces of nature. Let's move on to table 9, approaching the halfway point. This is Jordan Boleyn versus Ryan Hoffman. Once again, we have that Brotherhood Civil War, Order of the Green Lady versus Order of the Brother Mark. 12 drops on the Green Lady side, 13 drops on Order of Brother Mark, and 22 unit strength to 23 unit strength. Over on the Order of the Green Lady side, there's some Men in Armor's Retainers, double Order of Redemption, Sharpness, and Blessing of the Gods on those. Those are going to be nasty. Triple Forsaken Hordes. I'm sure this isn't an elf list. Beast of Nature with wings and 7 attacks, triple pegs, a unicorn, and the Champion of the Green Lady. Man, that is unkind. My goodness. All right, over on the Brother Mark side, he's got a horde of the Paladin Monster Slayers with improved strength, a couple of Elaine Bowman regiments, a couple of Ogre Palace Guard hordes, Order of the Abyssal Hunt. He's got 3 of those. A couple of Exemplar Paladins mounted, or one of them's mounted, the other is lead from the front. A couple of War Wizards with some Lightning Bolt and Bane Chant backup, and High Chaplain Augustus. Man, this is going to be a slog. Oof. This is going to be fun to watch. I think this might be fun to watch. What do you think, Adam?
I think I'm a little confused as to why he has the lead from the front on one of those Paladin heroes, and he only has basically the Monster Paladin Slayers. Like the Bowmen, rallying them is kind of whatever, but I don't know. It just seemed a little weird for me on Ryan's list there. But yeah, this Order of the Green Lady is just a bag of hammers, and it's going to hurt, it looks like. So, yeah, it has the speed. And one of the best things about like an Alpha Strike army is when you go against another army that's looking to Alpha Strike, like the Order of Brother Mark with 3 Abyssal Horsemen Cavalry, or Order of the Abyss Cavalry, excuse me. And you just say, well, I'm faster and I'm stronger. So all those points are kind of worthless in a sense. So I'm liking the Green Lady's chances, and as well, they have a good amount of sustain with the Unicorn and the Champion of the Green Lady for the rally. So I like this Green Lady list.
Yeah. Marcelo, what do you think?
I agree with Adam. The Order of Green Lady is a far, far superior list because not only does he have the extra speed, but he also outchuffs the Brother Mark. Like, you can't have an Alpha Strike without chuff, and I don't see chuff in the Order of the Brother Mark. Like Adam mentioned, putting so much rallying on a single horde, that's like too many points on something that's going to be slow, whose job is only to be an anvil. So, I think that Jordan has all the tools in this list.
All right, Ray.
I think 3 Order of the Forsaken Hordes might be one too many, and maybe that one could be switched for an Order of Redemption. But you know what? I'm looking at this list and I'm going, that is an absolutely evil Order of the Green Lady. And what makes it evil is actually the 3 Pegasus. It's not necessarily the beasts of nature, but as Adam was saying, here's my chaff so I can run them right in front of your Order of the Abyssal Hunt. You can't do anything, and next turn, Order of Redemption with Sharpness or Blessing or whatever you want comes in, takes you off. And that is an absolutely scary list, because whatever hordes you need or regiments you need are 16-18, and 16-18 with defense 5 is actually tough to move off. So I would not want to fight Jordan's list. I think if this was against I think if the Order of the Brothermark armies were switched, it would be a more interesting discussion, because the other Order of the Green Lady wasn't quite as Alpha Strike with speed and chaff, like not completely focused the way this one is. And Ryan might have more of a chance against that type of Order of the Green Lady, and the Phalanx and the extra rallying might help more against Jordan's list. But the way the matchups happened was not the way that the Order of the Brothermark wanted to see it. So Green Lady forever.
Thanks, Mike. All right, so it sounds like everybody's kind of leaning one direction here. Adam, are you going Order Green Lady?
Yes. Like you said, it looks like elves. It flies like elves. I'm gonna vote for the elves.
Feels familiar, right? All right, Marcelo.
Well, Jordan is a fellow battle pilgrim, and I'm really happy that I can vote for my clubmate without losing my objectivity like you guys do.
There you go. All righty, Ray.
Now that you said that, Marcelo, I'm going to vote for Jordan. Joking aside, battle programs, it's a great list.
Ray's like, I'll take the loss to not vote for him.
I hate clean sweeps, but like, this is going to be vicious, man. I can't. Sorry, Ryan, man. I can't vote for you. I got to go with Jordan.
Hey, this is the first tournament where we have lots and lots of clean sweeps, Mike. So maybe you can give them up.
Maybe we'll see. Yeah, I mean, of the 2 armies, Order of the Green Lady versus Brothermark, not these lists, but the armies in general, Order of the Green Lady is definitely the one that I find more appealing. So, now I got to lean towards Jordan on this one. So that brings us to table 10. So we're at the midpoint now. So this is going to be Bart Kohler versus Chet Dudek. And this is going to be a Night Stalker versus Forces of Nature match with 14 drops on the Night Stalker side, 24 unit strength, and a very lean 11 drops on the Forces of Nature side with 18 unit strength. Over on Bart's side, he's got some Scarecrow regiments for the cheap unlocks, standard Butcher Hordes and Soul Flayers like you expect to see, nice Fiend Horde, a couple of Needlefang regiments, a Planar Apparition, 2 Shadow Hulks, which are just so good. The Dread Fiend with the Trickster's Wand with that extra height, making it really hard to hide your casters. Love that piece. And a Void Lurker for some flying threat. And over on the Forces of Nature side, there's that Hunter of the Wild regiment again. Triple Forest Shamblers, double Greater Air Elementals, a Greater Fire Elemental. The Glade Walker Druid kitted out just like you expect with the Ring of Harmony, the Crown of the Wizard King for the extra range. A couple of Tree Herders, and the Wild Father. So this list gets both the triple Tree Herder and double Greater Air Elemental award. Marcelo, let's start with you. What do you think?
So both lists have speed. Both of them have units that hit really hard. I do like Bart's higher drops and higher unit strength. I think that Shed will be harder to shift because higher defense. He does have, like Ray said in a previous matchup, that the 3 headers mean that in this scenario at least you can move up. You can go in after the 2 tokens that are worth 2 points each, and just focus on picking them up. But it's the first time I see him playing Night Stalkers. He's used to playing Trident rounds. And to Bart, I think this is going to seem like such a better army. I think he's going to feel like he's got much stronger tools. So I won't call it yet, but they're both good lists.
All right. Let's see what Ray thinks. Ray, what do you think?
Well, one of the things I noted with Bart's army is the double Shadow Hulks and the Void Lurker. Those are 3 Titan class creatures with tons of nerve, coupled with the Planar Apparition and the Dread Fiend. So he has a lot of very solid, chunky square bases. And previously, when I talked about forces of nature being able to move up, get the objectives, scout onto them, and then do the game however they wanted with Justin, that was against the dwarfs who didn't have a response for turn 1 to say, I can charge you, I can hit you, and I can really hurt you if I hit you. Where Bart's playing a list that if you're getting hit with multiple Shadow Hulks or getting hit with the Butchers, those are not units that you want hitting you back in return, because those will hurt, if not kill, 4 Shambler Hordes, depending upon what combination there is.
Are the Shadow Hawks Crush 3?
Shadow Hulks are Crush 3, Slayer D3.
Yeah.
Stealthy and Strider. So
yeah, they're going to shred 3 heroes.
Yeah. This is what he wants to see. Yeah.
So this is where I don't think the forces of nature can do that aggressive scouting that I would do against dwarfs. So you're going to have a bit more of a cagey match between the two. I actually think Wind Blast might be one of those unwritten spells that get a lot of use in this game from the Soul Flayers that you don't normally see being absolutely vital to how the game's played. But Wind Blast 10 to be able to push the surging elements.
Yeah. Adam, you know a thing or two about Night Stalkers, don't you?
Yeah, Wind Blast can be useful, in this matchup specifically. But no, I think Ray hit a lot of key points. I think the one big thing that I'm looking at from Bart's side is he has the main trick, the main key, which is the Dread Fiend with the Trickster's Wand. And that thing's not really tied down to his battle line in any way. So he can run that wherever he wants. He outdrops Chet so he can get it in the position. Chet does have a lot of monsters that he can hide it behind. But the issue is that with it being speed 8, nimble, Bart can just run it up a flank that isn't contested and get behind the lines effectively with it in 2 turns. So I think another thing is these the Regiment of Scarecrows and the Needle Fangs. Like Bart outshafts Chet, so Bart's going to be able to decide the matchups that he wants. The hardest thing is going to be the greater air elementals. They aren't going to be able to really be locked down, but hopefully with the Hex, you can at least force Chet into dedicating a tree herder to surge them instead of the Glade Walker Druid. So I really like Bart's list. He has the tools necessary to be able to face down something like this. And I also want to point out that triple tree herder seems to be like a mid-Atlantic specialty because everybody's taking it seems. We definitely don't see that around my neck of the woods. And 2, what's with all the Forest Shamblers? I don't think they're actually that good. Regiments of Forest Shamblers seem good, but are people just it's the cheapest horde unlock I have, so I'm gonna take that?
No, World Tree Hugging Green is here, Adam.
Okay, all right. I appreciate the honesty. So.
All right, Marcelo, who are you picking in this match?
Oh, Bart, definitely.
All right. That is a vote for Bart. Ray, what do you think?
Well, Bart's not playing Trident rounds, so he's breaking my heart. So I'm going to vote for Chet. Also, I know Adam's going to vote for Bart, so I want to make sure that the separation between Adam and I. And,
I didn't know you guys had a feud going.
I didn't know that either. So.
If you vote the same way too much on these things, when we get to the end of the first round of the tournament, it's going to be a tie as to who gets the most right, and that's just no fun.
But I think the Lightning Bolt 3 will take care of the Needle Fangs. But pure speculation. Chet's going to spike those rolls, take off the Needle Fangs, and then it's going to be a whole new game. So Adam, that's my bet.
All right, but heal 7 from a planar apparition just wipes it all off. Just want to make sure you're aware of the bet.
That's fair. So I'm guessing you're voting Night Stalkers then.
Oh yeah, I can't vote Forces of Nature.
Sure, that's fair. And I am working on a Forces of Nature army, so I would lean that way because that's the brand of filth I'm buying into here. But I actually do think that Bart's list does have really good answers for a lot of what Chet's bringing. Like Shadow Hulks want to see things like Tree Herders to go punch, and Greater Air Elementals are really nasty. But if you have a little bit of Wind Blast and you can push their positioning back a couple of inches where they can't quite get the surge flank charge on you that they had spent 10 minutes of their clock setting up for the last 2 rounds, then you can really disrupt the plans there. So I think Bart has the tools. I think he might be able to pull this off. So I'm going to vote for Bart. And that's going to bring us to the halfway point. It's 9 o'clock, so we've been at this for an hour and a half. So at this point, I'm going to say let's take like a 3-minute stretch / bathroom / drink break. I'll throw the thumbnail image up here for a second. We can mute our mics, and I'll see everybody back here in just a couple of minutes. All right, let's get going. All right, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for giving us a minute there. So that was table 10. That is 10 out of 20 tables done. We are going to move on now to table 11. We will try to power through this back 10 tables in pretty short order here, so we don't keep people on for too long. So table 11 is going to be Keith Baker versus Rob Allison. This is an Ogres and Orcs matchup. 13 drops over on the Ogre side, coming in right about average, 23 unit strength, so kind of right in that sweet spot. Over on the Orc side, 15 drops and 26, so a little on the high side. Ogres, he's got a couple of warrior regiments, shooters horde, a couple of siegebreaker hordes, for a nice defense 6 wall. That's a nice theme for this event, it seems. A berserker braves horde with sharpness, which is nice. Crocodile wrangler, the berserker bully, which is a really good utility piece. 3 ogre warlocks with lightning bolt, drain life, and nom nom, which is it's an amount of shooting that doesn't look that terrible until they get all the bonus dice from all the ogres around it, and then it's actually a pretty heavy amount of lightning coming at you. Over on Rob's side with the orcs, you got a couple of more axe regiments, a couple of axe hordes, a great axe horde, a couple of orkling regiments for some chaff, a fight wagon troop and a fight wagon horde, a couple of war drums for some rallying, a couple of god speakers for some heal and bane chant, Morax Mansplitter, and Whip the Outcast. So let's start with Adam coming back from the break. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the Ogre list seems somewhat standard. I would say you see a lot of the siege breakers, a couple of the warrior regiments now. The lightning bolt line with the warlocks and Nom is still good. So even after the points adjustments from the last Clash of Kings, you still see this Ogre list, I think. What's kind of unique, though, is this horde of shooters. I don't think I've seen shooter hordes in forever, since like 2nd edition. So I don't think they're bad necessarily. I think they do really good job of sitting in a lane, holding their lane, just threatening people moving up, which in this particular map that we saw at the beginning, there's on the right flank, there was, 2 hills. And I think you could effectively get on one from one side or the middle right up against the obstacle. So there's a shooting lane to be had for these guys. So I don't think it's going to be a bad choice for Keith to have. Just a unique little wrinkle in the army is all. But for Rob's list, I do think orcs are an underplayed army. I think they are quite good. We're getting into a very combat heavy, very like lots of drops type meta, I think, to kind of counter those, the greater air elementals with the surge. The more drops you have, the better off you are usually. And then against shooting spams, just having more things at higher defense, it's just tougher for them to break through. So, and I think Rob's army has enough punch to get through Keith's wall of shield breakers here. So, and I don't think he cares that much about the lightning bolt. He'll definitely take some damage, but he has quite a bit of heal himself. Rob does. So, I think it's pretty evenly matched, but I like the orcs in this one.
All right, Marcelo.
Even though the orcs have more units, high unit strength, I think they're going to be somewhat whittled down before they get to the ogres. And the ogres still have the speed advantage. They have the shooting advantage. I think the ogres are going to be able to dictate the game more than the orcs. The orcs are going to be just a big lumbering force. I think that if Keith concentrates on just picking up those 2 tokens that are worth 2 points and concentrates on that the orcs are going to struggle to combat that, because they're going to be a lot more spread, because it's an army that likes being spread. It's great for control, it's great for invade, but I don't think it's as good when you've got 2 tokens that are worth more than the other 3 put together. So in this matchup, I like the ogres list better. I think they have more tools.
All right, Ray.
I think the 25 lightning bolt that the ogres potentially have with the 18 shooters is an awful lot of shooting. I know I came in saying I think Rob's list with the orcs is one to watch for tournament play, for scenario play, but orcs versus ogres always seems like a bit of a rough matchup for the orcs because ogres tend to do what they want to do just a little bit better. That being said, if you can split apart the 2-2-pointers, that would favor, and put one on either side, that would definitely favor Rob's list and give him the edge going into the tournament to split apart the ogres.
Interesting. Yeah, this is a kind of a balanced matchup. I think both armies kind of want to get in there and mix it up. Adam, who's your pick?
I'm going with the orcs. Heal 17 is going to be quite a difficult mountain to overcome.
Marcelo, what do you think? Is the shooting enough to deal with the heal?
Keith, I will go for Keith. I think you can concentrate the shooting a lot more than you can concentrate the heal.
All right, Ray.
Pains me to say this, I'm going to vote for Rob because he was my dark horse for the tournament. And even though Adam voted for him, I still have to stick with my dark horse.
I voted first, so I still win, Ray.
Yes. Yeah, you have the edge on this one.
And I'm gonna. I think. Oh, geez. Normally, I think I would go for the ogres, but I think you guys have talked me into voting for Rob. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Rob. Why not? So that's table 11.
I don't think there was a bad pick in that one.
Yeah, no, I think this will be a close, probably fun game to watch. All right, that's going to bring us to table 12. It's going to be Jason Murphy versus Kevin Strong. This is another one of our Forces of Nature lists versus another one of our Night Stalker lists. Again, 2 popular armies. The Forces of Nature list is coming at 12 drops. Forces of Nature lists have been a little on the elite side, and this one is right in there along with it. The Night Stalker side, 13 drops. It's about average. 21 unit strength on the Forces of Nature side, 25 on the Night Stalker side. Over on Jason's Forces of Nature list, we have a Water Elemental Horde. I'm not sure if we've seen one of those yet in the Forces of Nature list. So we've seen all the other elementals. A couple of Earth Elemental Hordes for a nice defense 6 wall. A Scorchwing Regiment, a couple of hordes of Scorch Rings. And then 2 Greater Air Elementals, a Greater Fire Elemental. Just bringing all the elementals. Love it. The Gladewalker Druid kitted out with the Ring of Harmony, Heal and Surge. The Unicorn with a Tome, so it can also surge and some heal. And a Tree Herder. And over on the Night Stalker side, we have a couple of regiments of Doppelgangers. That's interesting. A couple of Scarecrow regiments, the Bloodworm Legion with the Hammer of Measured Force, as you do. A couple of Butcher Hordes kitted out with Sharpness and Jesse's Boots. Double Planers, double Shadow Hulks, the Horror, and Insinishra. Shakira. Who did I start with? Let's start with Ray this time. Ray, what do you think?
Yeah. I think the Forces of Nature are a very elite list on this one, but I think they have the tools required to deal with Kevin's Night Stalkers because I don't see the speed counter necessarily in Kevin's list to deal with the Scorch Rings and the Air Elementals and the Fire Elementals, which can bring a fair bit of shooting coupled with the speed to get the flanks. So I think the Forces of Nature speed and shooting gives them the advantage versus the Night Stalkers. But I might be completely wrong, and Adam will tell me.
Adam. What do you think, Adam?
No, I think Ray's spot on with it. The lack of mobility is definitely going to have Kevin struggling, I think. So, he has a lot of sustain with the double planer, double shadow hook, double butcher. Like it's not going to be easy to shoot him off, but doppelgangers, the scarecrows, the bloodworms even will eventually just suffer enough shooting if they're not if the shooters aren't contested, which Shakira is the only thing that can reach out and touch anything. And I think you kind of want her around for those greater air elementals when they rear their ugly heads. So I think you're kind of in a really tough spot with Kevin, where Shakira needs to do a lot of things here, and I don't think she can be everywhere. So I like Jason's chances in this matchup.
All right, Marcelo, what do you think?
I think that if Kevin plays it smart and focuses on just one half of the table, he's got, it's very hard to shift bloodworms. Like, you're not going to shift a bloodworm region unless you allow them to get flank charged. And I think if he concentrates rather than trying to spread out and goes after, okay, let's make sure I win, 3 of the 5 points, that he can do it. I think that the forces of nature, at least to crack the Night Stalkers, will need to get on the flanks. They have to get on the flanks. And yes, they have the speed, but if you play a refused flank, and in this scenario you can get 3 points and play a refused flank, he's got a good chance.
All right. So Ray, who's your pick for this match?
I might go with Jason with Forces of Nature.
All right.
Unstoppable force will beat the immovable object.
All right, Adam.
I'm also going with the Force of Nature for this one.
So what happened to you two guys during the break?
Nothing.
To an agreement.
Did you go and sign a peace deal? Like, what happened here?
I'm sure there's plenty of wars to be fought in the future here, Marcelo.
Yeah.
Still 8 tables left. All right, Marcelo, who's your pick for this match?
I'm gonna go for Kevin.
I'm gonna go for Kevin. All right. I think in this one, I am also going to lean towards Forces of Nature. I think I'm going to go for Jason as well. So it's a 3-on-1. Still no clean sweep. So that's good. That will take us to table 13, where we will find Mike Ireland versus Bill Stein. That's going to be a Ratkin versus another Night Stalker list. 16 drops on the Ratkin side to 13 on the Night Stalker side. Not surprising. Rats are usually pretty high drops. But only 23 unit strength on the Ratkin side to 24 on the Night Stalker side. Usually see a little more unit strength than that out of Ratkin. Going down Mike's list, he's got triple Warrior Hordes, a Claw Shot Troop, a couple of Hackpaw Regiments, some Vermintide, triple Weapon Teams, Death Engine Spewer, the Tangle, a couple of Brood Mothers, Mother Kryza, and Scud. Pretty nice, nasty, balanced Ratkin list, a little bit of everything. Over on the Night Stalker side, triple Reaper Regiments, double Butcher Hordes, triple Soulflare Regiment, double Screeches, Horror, and Sinistra, and a Void Lurker. Who did I start with last time? I started with Ray, I think. Let's pop back up to the top and see what Adam thinks. Adam knows a thing or two about Night Stalkers.
Well, 3 Soulflares is the right number, so Bill got that right. He's got a good balance of lists going here, just in general. So I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of the Reaper regiments now that they've lost some attacks. They're a decent price point, but I feel like they're just very fragile, and there's really nothing that's escorting them in this list. So they're just very naked, I feel like. And Mike has enough shooting that it's going to possibly make matter. So triple weapons teams is just terrifying no matter what army is up against them. And I think I like Mike's list a lot, except for Scuds. I think Scuds is just too expensive for what he does. You can get so much in the Rat army without taking him. So there's some things that I like and dislike about both lists, but yeah, I'm still kind of up in the air on which one I think will do better. So,
all right, Marcelo.
I don't think the stealthy in the Night Stalkers is going to be enough to mitigate all the shooting of the Rat King. Because I know that the Rat King shooting, most of it tends to be short range, but those two lines will come together, and the Ratkins are going to come over the flanks. The Ratkins have so much that they can afford to take a charge and lose units from flanking Soul Flayers and still have things behind them to wipe out the Soul Flayers. So I think that Mike has a much stronger list, and Mike, was the best performing Masters player in the Mid Atlantic team in the last Masters. So he's been playing Ratkin for years. He knows how to use these lists. He won 5 games and only lost 1 during the Masters. So, and it's not because he's a battle pilgrim.
Was he playing this
objective
list? Was he playing this list?
He didn't have Scud. He didn't have Scud. Scud comes in and out of the list. He echoes what you said, Adam. Scud is just too expensive, not worth it. And then he takes it out and puts something else, and then a few months later, Scud comes back.
Yep. Ray, what do you think?
I think this list is slightly different from what Michael's been previously running. So it's still Ratkin, but it's leaning more towards shooting and shorter range shooting without the shock troops to provide the combat ability at close. He's trying to change that with the hack boss. And I'm not sure that's enough against Bill's very focused, very, as much as the Reaper regiments don't have any cover, that list is I'm moving 6 inches, I'm charging, and I'm punching you in close combat. And I'm going to really hurt you when I hit you in close combat. So either you're going to shoot me off or I'm going to kill you, because Michael doesn't really have the combat capability that Bill does. So I think this is Ireland Ratkin list in transition. And I'm not necessarily certain. He's a great Ratkin player, Marcelo. Absolutely. I've played him twice. He absolutely is. But I don't know if this is his normal list or if this is I'm trying to feel this out Red Book transition list. So
yes, he weakened his hordes. Normally his hordes are shock troops.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So Adam, who is your pick in this match?
I'm going with the Rats.
That seems reasonable. Marcelo.
I'm being ultra objective here and going with the Rats.
All right. Ray.
Well, combination of battle program and Adam voting for him, then clearly I'm going for Bill. So
okay, now this is more like
good deal. Oh man, Mr. Stein, I don't know you. I don't know how long you've been playing this list.
He actually wrote a comment here. He says Reapers don't need protection when those weapons teams are gone. My question is, how are you planning on killing the weapons teams?
Yeah, I mean, maybe the double Mind Screech is going to snipe them out or something like that.
Sure, but Mind Screeches are only height 4, so you're given cover, and weapons teams are defense 5, like the Rats that they are. Just way too cheesy.
Yeah. I've played Mike Ireland a couple times. He's really good at this game. He's a really, really tough competitor. If I met Bill before, then I think I might favor the Night Stalkers here. But I think I gotta go with Mike just on what I think might be Kings of War tournament experience, although I'm not sure. There's a lot of people, even though this is in my region, like whenever we go up to Pennsylvania, there's always people that I don't know. It's really awesome to keep meeting new people in your own region. But it does make it kind of hard to call things like this because I don't know everybody. This should be a fun game, but I think Mike will be able to pull it out. So let's pop on over to table 14.
While we were with Mike Ireland, he agreed to film the Ken Ferris versus Mike Zemelmeyer game. So he'll be setting up the streaming video.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. So everybody keep your eyes open for that on Mike's
Thank you,
Twitch
Mike.
channel. Yeah, probably
Thank
on
you.
Mike Ireland's Twitch channel on Saturday morning.
Hmm.
So table 14, I think this is also a challenge match. This is Kat Warrior versus Thomas Strother. Kat is playing her lovely Salamander army, and Thomas is playing his Abyssal Dwarves army. That is still a work in progress. They are both 15 drops. His Salamanders are coming in at 20 unit strength, and the Dwarves are coming in at 23, so very close. Over on Kat's side, she has Salamander Prime's Horde, an Ancient's Troop, double Tyrants, Rhinosaur Cav, double Ember Sprites, Greater Fire Elemental, triple Lycilodon, Mage Police, Clan Lord on Raptor, Battle Captain on Rhinosaur, and Gekota Skylord on Scorchwing, but no Rakowis the Pale Rider. Interesting. Over on Thomas's side, I think this is pretty standard for his Abyssal Dwarves. Double Black Souls, a couple of regiments of Lesser Obsidian Golems and triple Hordes for that nice long Defense 6 wall. Half-breed regiment for a little bit of a flanking threat, a couple of heavy mortars for some shooting, double Iron Casters, a Hex Caster, and Infernox and Brachybarca. So let's drop down to, did Adam last time? Marcelo, what do you think about these lists?
So I like what Kat has done with changing Heron Blooded to Salamander Prime Horde. They're more reliable, have crushing. I like that she's got the ancient troops to not only provide inspiring, but it's a really solid chaff. It's one of my favorite chaffs in the game because you can just throw them out there, and if somebody wants to break them, they have to treat them like they're a regiment or something, because even though they're troops at Defense 6, it's self-inspiring, inspire everything around them. Tyrant Hordes, I think, have what Kat's gonna need to take care of the Obsidian Golems. Rhinos or Cavs he had. I like the Abyssal Dwarves list. It's nice and balanced. It's got a lot of staying power. It doesn't have that much shooting, so I think that plays into the Salamander's hands, because the Salamanders have speed compared to the Abyssal Dwarves. And with a greater fire elemental with wild charge +1, the Rhinosaur Cav are going to be charging 16 inches. So I'm liking the Salamanders as a better tool than what the Abyssal Dwarves have to handle the Salamanders.
All right. Very, very objective. Critiquing a club mate and the army that you play regularly. Yep. Ray, what do you think?
Well, what was it for me to agree with Marcelo? But in this case, Thomas, I think I probably would have doubled down. And if you're going to go with 2 heavy mortars, you might as well go with 3. If you're playing a slow Abyssal Dwarf army, you might as well double down on the shooting so that you can force the opponent to come towards you. I think with 2 heavy mortars, you don't necessarily cause Kat to necessarily need to come to you as quickly as she can, because the odds of you spiking the rolls and taking off a unit are less. And with Kat having the speed advantage, with the Tyrant Hordes, with the Wild Charge D3, sharpness hitting on 3s, with 30 attacks and crushing 2, she has some real can openers in her list. And that's not what your list, Thomas, wants to see. So I think she has the speed and she has the can openers, and you have shooting, but you just didn't double down to that extent to really force her to make mistakes so she can take her time and pick her spots.
Now, knowing Thomas, he would probably feel really guilty if he brought 3.
Oh, he would, because
he's such a nice guy.
Yeah.
I think considering how crowded the tables are, that 3 might be a waste of points. You might not have enough shooting lane to be worth putting 3 pieces of artillery down on the table. Adam, what do you think?
Oh, I think that 3 pieces of artillery are shooting at the same lane, Mike. So 3, 4, 7, it's all going to shoot the same spot. So shoot it until it's dead. There's no such thing as overkill. So, but I do want to echo. I really like Kat's Salamander Army. This is probably one of my favorite lists we've gone over here tonight. So. I do think that she has the best chaff in the game in these Ember sprites. They just have kind of everything you want out of a true chaff piece, which will help her really dictate the battle lines. Even though she outspeeds most things across from her, they're going to be a nuisance. And even like a Obsidian Golem Regiment isn't necessarily going to kill a Dash 11 with its 9 attacks. So she definitely has possibilities of just controlling the battle line even further after she uses her can openers. So I do think that another thing that's going to be in Kat's favor is that she did bring Veil of Shadows 3 on that Mage Priest. So it's probably a good thing that Thomas didn't bring more artillery, because it feels really bad when they go from hitting on 5s to 6s, and I assume she's going to know exactly which pieces she's going to need to win this and make sure they're in the bubble. So, I just don't really see a whole lot of grinding out of Thomas's list once the engagement happens, because lesser Obsidian Golems just don't really do a whole lot, I feel, and they usually want 2 or 3 rounds of combat to be able to kill the units they're engaged with. It doesn't even look like there's a Bane chant to back them up. So I think Kat's going to win just because she has pure offensive domination when it comes to the engagements. So,
all right, I'm going to put that down as a vote for Kat then. Marcelo, what do you think?
Kat, definitely. Again, not because she's a battle pilgrim. It's a very objective review.
There you go. Ray, what do you think?
You're killing me, Marcelo, because I have to vote for Kat as well.
She's amazing.
Might be one of the prettiest armies at the tournament, if not in contention. So absolutely one to see.
So you're voting for Kat?
I am.
So now you guys have put me in a position where to avoid a clean sweep.
We had so many clean sweeps, Mike, that it doesn't matter anymore.
I know. I just considering that this scenario is a get to the center line and pick things up, and then you can't be surged when you're holding it. I don't know that Thomas has a whole lot in his army that is going to get to the center line before Kat does. Black Soldier Dwarves, everything else shambles. Except that the half breeds, and that's just one unit, or like maybe Brachybarca, but you don't really want Brachybarca carrying around loot.
He's an individual, so he can't.
Oh, that's right. He's just an individual. Which one am I thinking of? Wasn't one of them like on a cav base, like a second edition? Who am I thinking of?
In Fernox. In Fernox, it's a large infantry, so he could.
Yeah. Maybe I'm thinking of Fernox. Okay. Yeah, man. I think I got to vote for Kat. I think it's got to be a clean sweep because I think she's got the tools to deal with the defense 6 wall, and she's got chaff pieces and things that she can get to the middle of the table and pick up the tokens and back away, and then send in tyrant hordes and rhinosaurs to keep Thomas from ever getting over there. And if she just keeps the tokens behind cover where the mortars can't see them, then I don't know what Thomas is really going to do. So I think I got to vote for Kat. I'm
going to call it that Skylord is going to win games. It's one of my favorite units in Kings of War, and I don't see it very often. So
the Clan Lord on Raptor and the Dakota Skylord are like, well, if they want to shut down those mortars, they'll probably get to them and do it, or take half of Thomas's army's attention, keeping them away from them. All right, so that is a clean sweep for Kat. No pressure. Moving on to table 15, we have Alan Boehner versus Corey Walliser. This ought to be a pretty good match. These are two very capable players. I think Alan is currently ranked number 1 in the Mid-Atlantic. And this is going to be a Forces of Nature versus Ogres match. Over on Alan's side, he's got 13 drops coming in at 19 unit strength. And over on Corey's side, he's got 14 drops coming in at 26 unit strength. And Alan's list goes double Water Elemental Horde, double Earth Elemental Regiments for just the thickest chaff in the game, double Greater Elementals, double Druids with Fireheart, Amulet, Conjurer's Staff, Bane Chant, Surge and Heal, Avatar of the Green Lady, the Glade Walker Druid kitted out with the Ring of Harmony, the Crown, Heal and Surge, and then the Nature's Wrath formation, which is 2 air elemental hordes, one with Hammer Measured Force, one with Brutal Strength, and the 3rd Greater Air Elemental with the Brutal Aura. It's pretty similar to the list I was working on, actually, except I had Fire Elementals instead of Water Elementals. It's pretty nasty. Over on the Ogre side, we've got a Red Goblin Rabble Horde, double Hunter Hordes, double Siegebreaker Hordes, double Berserker Brave Troops, a Red Goblin Scout Troop, a Warrior Chariot Regiment, a Red Goblin Blaster, a Crocodile Wrangler, Sarge with the Trickster's Wand, which might come in handy, an Ogre Warlock, and Nom Nom. Ray.
So this Forces of Nature list is Justin's list that he's been running when I faced him in the last 2 tournaments. And I played against Corey's Ogres list previously.
And Justin copied it from Alan. It's Alan's original list.
Well, I beat it twice. So therefore, I'm going to vote for Corey because Corey's just going to move forward, crush Alan. And since Alan's riding on top, he's going to be overconfident. He's not going to watch his angles, and he's going to get crushed by. In fairness, the Berserker Brave regiments are some great chaff as well. The Warrior Chariots and everything else moves a bit quicker than what you expect. The Trickster Wand is not what Forces of Nature want to see. And at the end of the day, the Siege Breakers being defense 6, the Greater Elementals do have a hard time pushing through that if it's anything to the front, if it can be controlled. So my vote is Corey, down with Nerdhammer. Unbiased.
All right, then.
Sounds like a club war.
Adam, what do you think?
I think I'm a Nerdhammer fanboy now. So
thanks to Ray.
Yep. I appreciate it, Ray. But in all seriousness, Alan's Force of Nature is what I would have looked at as kind of typical. The 2 Druids is what kind of throws me off a little bit. They're good value, but at least in editions that I've made or seen, I usually see more units that have unit strength added instead. But those warrior or water elemental hordes, those earth elemental regiments, they're just going to stick around forever. Ogres have punching power, but I don't know if it's enough. He needs to double charge either of those units to reliably kill them. And the water elementals are just faster. So, I'm liking this Force of Nature list as much as anybody could like Force of Nature because nobody likes who's on top. Nobody roots for the Yankees. But Alan's going to win this one.
All right. Marcelo, what do you think?
So sometimes Alan brings a nice list to tournaments if he wants to give people a chance. And then there are times he just comes to win. And this is the list that he just comes to win. And he's won multiple tournaments with his very list. And when you see other Nerdhammer players running around with things that look like this, they all copy it from Alan. Except that Alan actually knows how to use it. So you beat the other people with this list, but you don't beat Alan with this list. So this is fast. There are so many angles you can be hit from that no matter how you try and make sure you don't get flanked, something always surprises you, especially with Surge. And Trickster's one is good, but there's 3. druids, Glade Stalker, the Glade Walker druid, and the two little druids. So there's always redundancy. You can shut, the Glade Walker druid, obviously, but there's always redundancy. That's a good ogre list. Corey does know how to use it. It's solid. But I don't think it stands a chance against forces of nature. Not this list.
All right, so that's going to be a vote for Alan. Oh, geez. So, as much as I would like to vote for Corey, I think I got to vote for Alan because, this is almost the exact same list that is sitting on my painting shelf right there in front of me that I'm looking at. Very, very nearly the same thing. And I've played that list against an ogre list kind of similar to this one down here locally. And we say the ogres don't have great anti-flying defense. He's got the Crocodile Wrangler. He's got a Trickster's Wand, but and Corey's an outstanding player as well. But I think Forces of Nature probably going to take this one. So I'm gonna vote for Alan.
It's not to say I have anything against Nerd Hammer. I voted for Dale. I voted for Justin. It's just Alan. Sucks to be you. You got my wrath.
You got my back, Alan. Take it down.
This will be an outstanding game to watch. There's a lot of the matches happening in round one. This is another good one that if I was the TO at this tournament, this is the table that I would swing by every 15 minutes to see what's going on, because this one will be fun too. Another marquee table for round one. This could easily be top table towards the end of the game at another tournament if they weren't meeting here in the first round. So let's go on now to table 16. This
one, these are the two players that we don't hand lists, so we
don't
put them against each other. So
we don't have lists for these gentlemen, and I don't know either of them. So if anybody wants to just pull a name out of their ass and vote for that, they can. But otherwise, we could just skip this one.
I'm voting for Sean Boyle.
I'll vote for Jonathan.
Yep. There we go.
Okay. Just because luck of the Irish, is that what you're going for there, Adam?
Well, lesser syllables usually wins. Just leave it at that.
Marcelo, would you like to make a wild ass guess on this one as well?
Oh God. Okay, I'm gonna show it. I'm gonna vote for Sean as well. I think the chances are that neither of them are showing up. Because when people normally don't send lists, they're probably not showing up.
That is an excellent point. I am going to call this one a draw based on their lists. I think they're perfectly balanced against one another, and it's too close to call. So I'm voting draw this one. All right, let's move on to table 17. Eric Schaefer versus Julian Lesage. This is the Vanilla Elves versus League of Ordia. Elves coming in 14 drops, 25 unit strength against the League's 13 drops and 25 unit strength. Over on the Elf side, you got some Palace Guard. You got triple Kindred Glade Stalker regiments, Silver Reeves Cav, double Stormwind, double Elven Archmage, one mounted with Alchemist Cursed, and the other one with Bane Chant and Mind Fog. The King's Champion, Argus Rodenar, and then the Swirling Tempests formation, which I don't think I've seen anybody take before. Maybe I just haven't.
Oh, you're missing out, Mike, because it's the best formation in the game.
All right, well, we will see how it does then. Double Drakon Rider regiments and a Lord on Dragon. And then over on the League of Ordia side, he's just taken all of the Dogs of War flavors here. He's got triple Dogs of War hordes, the Razors, the Beasts, and the Shields. They got a bunch of special rules that flavors them all, but I think it's basically one hits really hard, one super defensive, and I forget what the one in the middle is. But the lists are all online. You can go check those out if you want to, but still triple infantry hordes with among all of them, all of the rules that you can put on infantry are there. Double knight regiments, an honor guard horde with strider boots, battle shrine, triple barons, which are pretty good at grounding things. Double wizards on peg, and a duke on an ancient winged Arales. It's kind of an interesting League of Ordia list. Very infantry heavy. with some support pieces. Who did I start with last time? Can't remember.
I think it's Adam's turn.
I don't
so
know.
I want to hear his comments on the elves.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure. Adam, you know a thing or two about elves. What do you think of this?
Yeah, I like the Elfless. The one thing that's clearly missing is hordes of Dracons, though. So, sorry, Eric, you get maybe a B for the list overall. No, but I think that the formation is extremely good. Giving those regiments of Dracons nimble and spell ward is exactly what they want, to be able to get into positions out on the flanks and then also reduce the amount of damage they're taking from spells. And then just to clarify, the Lord in the formation is on a Dracon, not a dragon.
Oh, sorry, that's my typo. My bad.
No, you're good. So it's the 5 attack guy, and he gets Rampage D3 as well as Spell Ward. So I've played with it, and it's extremely good. So effectively, the shooting is, the Glade Stalkers is going to be backed up by the Stormwind Cav in this particular list. A Speed 9 Cav threat range, and then the Dracons that are out on the flanks. It's just going to minimize the amount of board space that the Ordia player will have to move up the field without being just slammed into. But the Ordia player has quite a few good tools. The Triple Baron and 2 of them being mounted is going to be really annoying. The Duke on Airles as well. And then 2 of those Dogs of War hordes come with phalanx with their upgrades, so it mitigates a lot of the combat damage coming out of the Elfless. But one of them is still defense 4, so the Glade Stalkers will have a heyday shooting through them, and then even get the charge off on them and still do quite a bit in combat. So, I think it's actually going to be a little bit difficult for the elf player, just because they also don't really have true chaff units in this matchup, and I think they're going to need that against Julian's list. So kind of on the fence on this one.
Okay. Marcelo, what do you think?
So I like both lists. I think although the elves have the speed and are going to be able to choose where they go in, there is a lot of resiliency. Having 3 big hordes with a battle shrine that's rallying 2, backing them up, that's a very solid line. And then still having things to counterpunch with. We still have an honor guard and knight regiment. I mean, 2 knight regiments. I think that although elves can dictate the battle more, if Julian is smart and again picks which 3 tokens he wants and doesn't try to go for everything and goes up against one side and make sure that he's only got one flank to worry about and cover with those heroes that can shoot off and ground some of these flyers. I think Ordia has the units, the units to go and pick up those tokens, while the elves are looking pretty fragile.
Right.
Before I vote, Marcelo, is Julian a battle pilgrim?
No, he's not.
Okay, then my vote's for Julian. I think as long as he focuses on his 4 points, whether it's 2/2s or 2/1/1, he has the strength, the staying power to go up there to take it. The Barons can help shut down the Glade Stalker shooting. If he has to sacrifice them, that's their life. And I think the Knight regiments at 16, 18 will be a bit tougher to move and are essentially his chaff pieces going ahead to cause problems for the elves. And snare and phalanx means that whichever unit is facing it, you're not going to get through them to the front. So I think as long as Julian plays a tight game, focuses on one side of the board and only has one open flank, which he can protect with his knights or honor guard or whatever he chooses to do flank protection, he should be good to go.
All right. So you're voting Julian?
I am.
All
Especially because he's not a battle pilgrim, so Marcel wouldn't be forced to pick him through his non-biased association.
Adam, have you worked out a vote yet?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the elves. I think the key piece, or two of the key pieces in this matchup, are actually the mounted elven mage with Boots of Levitation, Alchemist Curse. It's going to wreak havoc, and yes, it could get shut down by a Baron, but at the same time, the mage can just pick up the Baron and punt him off the board. And then the King's Champion, I think, is going to be extremely useful against the Double Knight Honor Guard unit because he comes with phalanx himself.
All right. Marcelo.
I'm voting for Julian.
All right.
And just for that, Ray, I'm going to ask him if he wants to be a battle pilgrim.
Just bring the jersey with you. I am. Oh man. I played against Eric. I have not played against Julian, so I know that Eric is pretty good. And I feel like for the kind of play style that I played against him doing, I feel like this elf list might suit him pretty well, actually. So I think I'm going to vote Eric. Giving us a 2-2 split on table 17. That will bring us to table 18 out of 20. So we're coming down to the last few here. This is Chris Dwayne versus Paul Costin. This is a Trident Realm versus Goblins matchup. We've got 15 drops and 23 unit strength over on the Trident Realm side, and 17 drops and 26 unit strength over on the Goblin side. So looking down the Trident Realms, this is going to be kind of a Thule-heavy list. Double Thule regiments, double Rearguard Tree Leaper troops, Depth Horror Horde, a Giga Horde, a couple of Knuckers, a Kraken, a Naiad Centurion, a Thule Aquamage, a Naiad Envoy, and then the hidden ones, which I think is just a couple of Thule regiments and Inisha. And then over on the Goblin side, it's kind of an interesting Goblin list. He's got he's got a Rabble regiment, a couple of hordes. He's got a couple of Troll hordes, a couple of Mincer Mob regiments, only 2 War Trombones, only 2 Wingets, a King with Jared's Pendant, Grony Snark, a Mounted Wiz with a Boomstick, and then he's taking the Explodomatic Bang Sticks formation. A lot of formations this time around. I feel like a lot of people are taking formations. So there's a couple of Fleabag Rider regiments with Mop Ups, and one of them's got Strider Boots, and then a King on Fleabag. It's kind of a different Goblin list that I think I've seen before.
I think the 2 Goblins and the 2 Trident Realm players are playing each other.
They might be, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was the previous matchup, was Trident Realms versus Goblins.
Yeah. Marcelo, why don't you start us off this time?
So similar to what we said in the last matchups, Trident Realms don't like facing shooting, and Goblins have more shooting than Trident Realm likes. It is mitigated by the terrain in the center. It's a pretty heavy board with terrain. There are Gigas there that are more resilient. It is unusual in that there's not that many hordes on the Goblin list.
It actually doesn't have a whole lot of shooting either.
Yeah, no.
2 Trombones, 2 Wingets, the Wizard, and then the bow shots from all the Kings that he has. That's it.
I think Trident Realm, it doesn't have a lot for Goblins.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Right.
But it does have a lot for Trident Realm. I think this could be an even match.
All right. Ray, you play Trident Realm. What do you think about this Goblin list?
Well, I think what we have to remember is that the Thule don't have crushing strength inherent to them. So while they're sitting there with 20 attacks hitting on 3s, if they don't have the wild charge from their special character in the formation, that's it. They have 20 attacks hitting on 3s. There's one Bane chant in the entire list. So where you're going against something like the Mincer mobs with the big shields, trolls with defense 5, those become tougher items for the Trident Realm to push through. They are exceptionally fast with speed 6, wild charge, D3 +1 from the Thule Aqua Mage. So you can get up to a 16-inch charge. But if you don't break it, what you wanted to go after the first turn, then you're going to be stuck there in combat against things that you might not necessarily be able to break going ahead. So while they don't want to see the shooting from a goblin list, they don't necessarily in this case want to see the higher defense because they're going to have a hard time with it. So I like the bang stick formation from the goblins. I've always wanted to see somebody use it. Paul's using it. So I'm going to vote for Paul because I want to see everything go boom.
All right.
I have a 3-year-old. Like, clearly, everything has to go boom.
All right, Adam, what do you think?
I have a 5-year-old, so 1 up and Ray. All right. No, the goblin formation is quite good, mainly because it's just purely expendable. The one thing that I would like to see in the goblin list is actually mop-up launchers. So both goblin lists, neither of them had mop-up launchers, but I think they're especially good with the Fleabag formation. Being able to load a mop-up into that unit, which I see he took mop-ups on both of them. But getting multiple turns of those can be extremely useful. And then having the ability to load up the rabble infantry with them can really help too. So I think that the goblin list just doesn't have enough shooting, and this ensnare is going to really hurt. So everything in the goblin list is hitting on 4s that wants to get in combat here. And it's going to 5s, and it's just not going to be enough from what I've experienced. So I think that the Trident Realms are going to be able to hit first, and then also get another round of combat after that. And even though they don't have a huge amount of crushing or abilities to take out the defense 5 or the defense 6, I think they'll have more units because this is a pretty elite goblin list. So I'm going to go with the Trident Realms with Chris.
All right, Marcelo.
I'm going to go with Trident Realms as well.
Okay.
You just voted that because you have a 5-year-old and not a 3-year-old who goes boom.
My 5-year-old likes sharks more than he likes goblins. So
fair enough.
All right. Yeah, I think this is kind of a combined arms goblin army, and Trident Realm are not so very bothered by that. I think this Trident Realm list has some fun tools. They got a couple of Knuckers, they got some Depth Horrors and some Gigas, so they got a lot of Thule, which aren't necessarily great against trolls and mincers, but they will eat up some rabble. And then when they're done eating up the small amount of rabble that's there, then they'll go to work on the other stuff, which is busy, not doing enough wounds because they're ensnared against his other stuff. So I think I got to give it to Chris on this one. And that's going to be it for table 18. Coming down to the last couple of tables. Table 19, Joe Borghese versus Mike Rossi. This is another challenge match, and Mike sent me something that I should probably show people. I'll show people at the end here. There's a little story behind Mike's army that he wanted me to share.
Of course there is.
Of course there is, because he's not playing dwarves. It's got to be a story, right?
Mike is the storyteller.
So Joe's bringing dwarves, which is a little different for him. 14 drops and 24 unit strength, and Mike is bringing Herd, which is very different for him, coming in 14 drops and 31 unit strength. Over on the dwarf side, he's got 4 Iron Guard regiments with throwing mastiffs. Nice solid line there. 3 sharpstick troops excuse me, 3 sharpshooter troops. Brock Riders, Mastiff Hunting Pack, Galax Fury, Steel Behemoth, Faber Ironheart, Double Dwarf Lords on Large Beasts. And then over on the herd side, he's got 5 regiments of tribal spears and a horde with sharpness. He's got 3 Guardian Brute Hordes, a Hydra, a Great Chieftain with the Horn of Migration and the Wings, a Druid with the Crown of the Wizard King, Bane Chant and Heal, and double Great Chieftain on Minotaur Chariots. So I'm going to start with Ray this time.
So I'm laughing because Mike Rossi's, for the first time in a long time, not playing dwarves. And who's his matchup in round 1? Dwarves. See,
not only dwarves, but a very similar play style of dwarves to what he plays, which is the Iron Guard regiments, lots of sharpshooters.
Yep.
But this is the Ewok list, which I think he won from a.
So yeah, this is what he sent me. He said it was this is an Ewok list. He said he won this in a charity raffle.
Yes.
Regiments of Ewoks, hordes of Wookiees, and a couple of chariots, which are the Pelicans with C-3PO and an Ewok chief, and an ATST on a Titan base for the Hydra. So that's why. That is the why of this list. It is because this is an army that he won in a charity auction, and he had to figure out how to make a Kings of War army with these base sizes that kind of fit this theme. So he's playing herd with some Ewoks. Yub nub. Let's go.
And this year at the same time, they've done a Empire-themed army for March of Death, which is being done up for charity as well. So, Mike, if I win the Empire-themed army, I will challenge your herd Ewok army so that we can have the Battle of Endor, because that would be super cool.
That would be cool. I would also like to see Mike Rossi and Steve from Death by Dragons play in a doubles tournament, because he's playing a Gungan army right now, and I think they might be halflings or something like that.
No, it's goblins.
It's goblins. So I think Ewoks and Gungans together would be a cool team up. Anyway,
everybody pull out your Star Wars armies. Let's go.
Let's go. What game are we playing? We don't even know anymore.
Mike's a great player. Joe's a good player. They're both great players. I think this would probably be one of the gentleman tables to watch and see, because they'll both have a lot of fun playing it. I think.
Very cool.
I think I'm going to give it to Joe just because. I think the throwing mastiffs will go yub yub and eat all the Ewoks. That's it.
All right, Adam.
Well, I think that Rossi has a distinct advantage in this matchup, and that's because he knows exactly how to play Joe's army. So, I don't know how experienced Rossi is with the herd, but going up against something well is always good start. So, I also think this Hydra is going to do work. In the matchup, I think 150 points, that's going to be the secret key to victory there. Obviously, the stolen AT-AT is what's going to win. So
Makes sense. All right. So that is a vote from Mike. Marcelo, what do you think?
Well, my prediction for this list is that Joe won't concentrate his fire, but he will put enough on the Hydra to make the Hydra an absolute monster. And then the Hydra is going to go and run rampage through the whole army and chew up more than half the army. So I'm going to give it to Mike.
All right. My prediction is that these guys are going to have a blast and are going to laugh their asses off. This is like the 2 top sports contenders playing each other in first round. So this is going to be like the gregarious guy off here.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be the loudest table.
Quite possibly the loudest and loudest laughing table.
We're going to need to give earplugs to the tables around them. Or maybe I put them in a different room by themselves.
There you go. I think Mike does know how the dwarf army works, because he does play it. And has played it for a long time. But I'm not sure I'm not sure that this herd list has what it needs to stand up to what the dwarfs are just sort of already have on the table. Like, he'll get there first, but I don't know that he's going to break anything. I think I'm going to lean towards Joe. I think I got to lean towards Joe on this one. Because I think that would be like the most ironic thing if like Mike Rossi plays against dwarves and can't figure out how to beat them or loses horribly against them. And we're like, this army's garbage. It never wins. It's so hard to play. And then he shows up and it's like, this army's awesome when it's on the other side of the table. How does this happen to me? We would get to hear about that for the entire rest of the weekend, and it would be hilarious. So that is going to bring us now to table 20. Our final table. We have arrived. And this is going to be Alex Chavez versus Mark Howard. This one might, talking about the last table being like the loudest laughing, top sports contender off table. Like this one is also going to be up there. The bottom part of the room is going to be having a very good time, I think. So this is a pretty classic dwarf versus elf match. We got Alex playing his classic dwarves. Mark trying out Sylvan King. He was an Undead player for a long time, but he's been practicing with Sylvan King for a while now. 15 drops over on Alex's side for 25 unit strength. Only 11 drops on the Sylvan King. Kind of an elite army there with 24 unit strength. On Alex's list, he's got a couple Iron Guard regiments with Mastiffs. He's got a Berserker troop. He's got 4 Sharpshooter troops, Scollop's Fury, Faber Ironheart, got a typo there. Sorry about that. Double Darf Lord on Large Beast. And then the Royal Guard formation. Formation's really popular. A lot of formations here. The double Bulwarker regiment with Mastiffs, an Ironclad Horde, and a Standard Bearer. And I believe they all get elite, which is pretty tough to get through. I've faced that formation before, and it makes normal dwarf infantry kind of a problem.
They actually all get +1 to hit, and then the standard in the formation has Aura Elite for infantry.
That's what it is. Yeah, it makes dwarf infantry no joke in combat. Then over on the Sylvankin side, Mark has understood the assignment and brought 5 Sylvan Gladestalker regiments, 2 regiments of Stormwind Cav, a Greater Air Elemental, an Elven King with a Shard Blade, Hunting Cat, Wanderer, the Gnome Glass Shield, and a Wilt Daddy, and a Nimble Tree Herder. If that don't beat all. Adam, what do you think?
What the hell's with all these Wilt Fathers and Tree Herders? And I wanted to come to Mid-Atlantic and play a tournament eventually, but after this, I'm glad I did this first. So, but I really like Alex's dwarf army. I think it has all the tools necessary to win an event, let alone this particular matchup. He's got a ton of defense 6. He has good mobility. He has a good amount of shooting with the Mastiffs, the sharpshooters. There's just a lot of stuff going for that dwarf list. That's pretty nasty. And then I think Mark is going to be really sad with all these Gladestalkers because there's so much defense 6 in this tournament and in this matchup that they're just not going to kill anything, I feel like. So, and yeah, he's got 2 tree herders, but other people have 3. So, so those sharpshooters are just going to have a heyday all game. They're going to pick on a Greater Air Elemental. They're going to pick on tree herders. Like there's just not enough sustain, I think, in the Sylvankin army to take this much shooting, which is not something they want to see when they're the ones that are supposed to be out shooting their opponents. So I got to go with a former master in Alex, and I think he's gonna get a pretty solid win out of this first round.
Marcelo.
Well, I'm just really happy that these 2 guys are playing round 1 and not round 4, because they're always so drunk and so hungover the next day that they normally need the opponent to help them get the game moving and get them wake them up. So if these 2 guys show up together on round 4, it's like who wakes up who, So at least the game will be played being round one. So I think this is a really bad matchup for Mark, for Sylvan King. The high defense, and these dwarves can actually shoot back, and there is no defense. Yes, they might be stealthy, they might be in cover because there's big trees, big forest in the center of the table. But I think that the Sylvan King are going to be blown off the table, and they just don't have, those 2 tree headers and even an air elemental floating around are not going to be enough to get rid of all that defense 6 that the dwarves have.
All right, Ray.
So I think one of the issues is Mark doesn't have any heal in his list, which is very different from something like Alan's Forces of Nature list, where you can take the shooting on your air elementals or your tree herders or whatever, and if you have 10 or 12 healed, then you can heal some of it back or regen with a formation. So I think everything Alex does will stick on Mark's units. And once the greater elemental gets 4 or 5 or 6 wounds on it, then it becomes far less of a concern. Same with the Wilt Father and Tree Herder. And what is Mark going to do with regards to like going after the objectives in the middle? Do you push your Glade Stalkers up to try to capture them? Because then you're just bringing yourself in range of Alex's dwarfs for all his shooting. And if you don't do that, then you're going to let Alex move up and take the objectives. So this is not a fight that Mark wants to do. And I just pity whoever he's playing in round 2, because this is not a list you want to fight round 2 going, I got my ass kicked round 1. What am I playing round 2? Oh, 5 regiments of Glade Stalkers. And yeah.
Yeah, but there might be an Abyssal Dwarf army that has all defense 6 that he'll be matched up against in round 2. So I don't know if Mark wants to see those things in round 2 either.
Yeah.
There's a lot of defense 6 in this tournament.
There is.
Yeah. Well, rumors of a big shooting meta will draw out the defense 6 units, I guess. So, Ray, I'm guessing you're voting for Alex.
Is there a question?
No, not really. One of the best things about this round pregnant, that's probably true. One of the best things about being an aristocrat, you don't have to play Alex round 1 ever. The T-shirt is
stupid enough to challenge him a couple of times. I don't know what I was thinking.
I need to play Alex still. I want to play him sometime, just like I want to play Ray.
One day.
Why does Mark look an awful lot like Adam? I don't understand. Okay, so no, seriously, Mark, I love you. Seriously, no, love.
Don't throw your penis out the window.
Don't throw your penis out the window. I've lost Alex Chavez many times, just usually not at tournaments because we're in the same club together. But I got to vote for a club mate. I'm not going to not vote for a club mate. And this matchup is not really what you want to see in the first round. So. Just start drinking early. Just start drinking early. Alex will drink with you. Y'all can do shots through this whole fucking game. You guys are gonna have a great time. You'll laugh your asses off. But you're not gonna get a lot of points out of this game, I don't think.
Play a drinking game. Every time you kill one of your opponent's units, you have to take a shot.
Yeah, take a shot. There you go.
Just an observation on this. I think Alex is the only one to take the Royal Guard formation from the 4 dwarf players.
I think so.
And I think it's an excellent formation. Like you said, +1 to hit and elite. But he's the only one. So just interesting note.
Yeah. There's no shame. Like if at the end of round 1 your club mates are like, "How'd it go?" You're like, "I played Alex Chavez." They're like, "Never mind. I don't know why the fuck I asked."
Sorry, I asked.
Right. Sorry. So that's gonna bring us to the end of the matchups. So now I'm going to ask you guys for a few final predictions just for funsies. And then we'll turn it over to Marcella for any last minute reminders, and then we will wrap up. So first, I'm going to ask you guys, now that you've seen all the lists, who do you think is the most likely to take away best general from this event? And I'm going to start with Marcella.
I'm hoping to see one of the Australians. If you come from the opposite end of the world, you deserve to win it. So I would say it has to be, Ken or Jeff.
Ken or Jeff. All right. That is reasonable enough. I think penciling in 2 dudes there makes sense. Ray.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Alex's last tournament was Nerdhammer, and if I recall correctly, he did not the best at Nerdhammer.
He was like on the bottom tables.
So I think this might be Alex's return to dwarfs and redemption story. So he's my pick for best general because he did not perform very well at Nerdhammer and he wants revenge. And my dark horse is Rob with the orcs because I think it's the orc time to shine.
All right. Adam.
I see you, Ray, picking a former master, clubmate. That was my pick. I'm just saying. All right. Well, I can't pick the same one, so I'll be honest. I don't know how well a lot of people do typically. So when I say Cat as a dark horse, is that an acceptable dark horse option or?
Yeah. No, I think so. I was going to ask you guys for dark horse picks next, and usually my definition of a dark horse is somebody who finishes top 3 for the first time, or somebody who finishes much higher than normal. And I think Cat works for that.
Cool. So I'm going to go with Cat, and then I think I'm going to go with Steve and his goblins for winning the event.
All right. I think that's
because he had the most drops.
He did have the most drops. Oh, geez. Who am I going to? Okay, so dark horse. First up, I know we just said that his first round matchup was horrible, but I'm actually going to go with Mark as a dark horse.
Mark Howard.
Mark Howard.
Have you taken his bribe that he wrote in the comments? Is that why you're voting for him?
Oh, I didn't even see that. Oh, hey, sweet.
Yeah, right. We don't believe that.
No, I was actually I was on the other tab filling out the spreadsheet. I hadn't even seen it. Oh, geez, and to win. Fuck. So this is a local tournament where I could legitimately say I think Jeff Trace is going to win. That's never an option, but now that it is an option, I'm having a hard time not picking Jeff Trace because he's really good. So I think it depends on how bad the jet lag, like how badly the jet lag hits him. But
what day does Jeff get in?
What day does Jeff get in? Can I get his flight itinerary? So if he's there Wednesday, he's winning.
Thursday evening.
Oh, see, that's right on the line.
No. He has a full day. He has a full 24 hours.
Yeah, but he's like next 12 hours off, and you only adjust 3 hours per day.
No, he'll be fine.
All right, I'm picking Jeff. I'm gonna say Jeff. I'm gonna say Jeff Tracy.
2 votes for Tracy.
2 votes for Tracy. Marcelo, do you have a dark horse pick?
Dark horse? I think Michael Ireland, because he's never won it. He's never won anything, but he's always, kind of been there, middle to higher. I think he can do it. He has what it takes.
All right. So that's a dark horse to win, not just podium. Very nice. Okay, and now last question I have for you guys. Which club do you think is going to walk away with the cup? Adam, you don't know any of these people, so I won't start with you. I'll start at the bottom with Ray and work my way up.
I'm going to vote Aristocrat because I'm not biased.
All right.
In fairness, I think Battle Pilgrims and Nerdhammer, Shambling Horde might. I think Battle Pilgrims have a solid chance, and I would be happy to see them take it away from Nerdhammer because I'm slightly biased. But so if it can't be an Aristocrat, Battle Pilgrim.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Ray.
Very kind Aristocrats / Battle Pilgrims. Marcelo.
Well, look, I called for reinforcements from Australia to have a chance.
You did.
So we either take it out now, or we're not going to take it out for a long time.
That makes sense. Oh, right, because both Ken and Jeff are Battle Pilgrims for this event, aren't they? Okay, Adam.
Can I get just a quick little rundown of who's in what club? Since I'm over here on my own island. Like I don't know.
Sure. So aristocrats is like me, Zemelmeyer, and Alex Chavez. Nerdhammer is going to be like Alan Boehner and Justin Lingle and Eric Schaefer, and Rob Allison. I feel like I'm forgetting one. Dale Motley, Bart, Joe Borghese. And then Battle Pilgrims are Trash and Ken Ferris,
Mike Ireland, Cat.
Mike Ireland and Cat.
Who's in the Horde?
Shambling Horde is going to be Rossi and Corey Wallitzer, and I'm not sure who else because I don't get all the way up to New York very often.
Okay. Well,
there's a couple other clubs. There's a couple other clubs, but I think those are probably the main contenders.
Okay. You know what? It's home field advantage. I got to go for the Battle Pilgrims.
All right.
Thank you, Adam.
So Marcelo, have the Battle Pilgrims won the cup?
No,
yet?
We set it up. We created it, but we didn't win it.
You created it last year, but you guys haven't taken one yet. So yeah, no. You know what? It's time. Home field advantage. You brought guys from Australia. You brought like the best ringers you could find.
No, that's true. Hey, Tracy was the original one of the original Battle Pilgrims. That's not a ringer.
Totally fair. So yeah, no, I think you guys are due. I think you guys started this cup a year ago, and haven't managed to secure it yet. I think you guys are due. I think it's your time to get your name on a plate on the base of that trophy. So I'm going to go Battle Pilgrims this time.
I think the dojo guys are a bit offended because they about a third of the field is dojo guys.
Yeah, I apologize. I haven't met a lot of you guys yet. I know Gil and I know Mark, and I know that you guys are getting better at this game.
Disrespect.
Oh, I know dojo, but it's the other dojo.
Yeah, it's the other dojo, right? If it was that dojo, then
but the president doesn't have a dick because he threw it out the window. So you can't win when your president doesn't have a dick.
No, seriously. I love you guys. We have so many Mid-Atlantic clubs now. Like it used to be that there were like 2, and now you go to a tournament and there's like at least 6 clubs with 3 or more people. So that's wonderful regional growth, and it's great to see. I'm really excited. I'll see 20 of you guys in June. Ooh, I guess I should go to the Atlantic City Open so I can meet all of them and buy them drinks or something.
You should. It's a great event. Mike did an amazing job last year of his inaugural event. It was a lot of fun. It was a great location, and it was very, very well organized.
Awesome. I will definitely have to check that out. So any last minute reminders, anything you want people to know, Marcelo?
So we're going to be setting up the gaming area earlier than usual. Like we're going to be there at midday setting it up. So if people want to come and have some games, you can do so, from about 1:30, 2 o'clock onwards. We're going to be running firefight demos on the Friday. If you do have a firefight army, bring it along. If you don't, we can lend you one. And we're going to have 2 chefs there on Saturday to make sure you're well fed. We're going to have 2 cooks cooking both lunch and dinner so that people don't have to leave the venue and can play games and do whatever they want on Saturday night. And you're allowed to drink. So it should be fun.
Excellent. Okay, great. I think that pretty much wraps it up. We're going to finish in just under 3 hours. So I would like to thank Adam and Marcelo and Ray for hanging out with me and going over the lists. I would like to thank everybody for watching. I'm really excited. I'm really looking forward to it. Pilgrimage is this coming Saturday. in Philly. There will be some streamed games. Watch the various places on Facebook. Maybe somebody will send you a link where you can see some of what's going on. And I think that's it. Next Mid-Atlantic tournament after that is going to be Vanguard, but it's already full. Next Mid-Atlantic tournament after that is going to be Atlantic City Open, which I'm not sure if Reg is open for that yet or not, but that's in June. So go check that out. Otherwise, until next time, I'm your host, Mike Atkins, saying you stay safe out there. And we'll see you next
Mike,
time.
for running this.
Absolutely. Always happy to do it. And we will see you next time on Dash 28 Live. Bye, everybody.
Bye.